What's up? What's up? What's up, everybody? I'm VJo Vegas, and I'm back with the show without a name. JK, you know it's an ESGN classic. I'm here with the third episode of this. I guess you call it Beat the Champ, you call it whatever, you call it Harris wins. No, I'm joking. We're not going to do this. We're not going to just announce the victory already. But, we want to get these great takes. I am here with, of course, Mr. 2K, Harris Rubenstein.
Howdy.
And then, we have our guy. You love to hate him, and most people hate to love him, but we love him here, especially on this platform. Champ 2K, how's it going, gentlemen? What's up?
Listen, man. I mean, I'm here to win today, guys. That's all I'm going to say. I am tired of losing on this show. I am 0 for 2 right now. Week 1, I lost to Matt. Week 2, India just put me on he served me up on a platter, and Harris is here. I cannot go with the trifecta of losing. Listen,
it's over. It's over, champ. Just know it's already over. You've already lost.
Listen, man.
Down bad, and then there's you right now. But it's okay. I have hope for you. I have true hope for you. And, we'll see how this goes. But, because you're here to take a dub. You take a victory like GNA last night in the WR finals. So big congratulations to GNA. Glizzy, I see you in the chat. Big congratulations to you. First WR finals. First post-draft, doing all that stuff. Yo, the kids are out here, guys. If you haven't noticed, Claude, Glizzy, all of these young fellas, you have...
Talk about that guy Elite Steals.
Johnny Red.
Talk about that guy Elite Steals, man.
That's like a soup lineup, though. It's that kind of like cheating because, that's like the best of the best, right here. Let's be honest. If there were more spots in the league, DJ would be in the league, despite everything. Talking about Glizzy, if he was old enough, the same thing with Claude, he would be in there with his league. Steel? You're going to tell me Steels probably wouldn't be the number 1 rated lock besides Crazy off the board if he was eligible?
Yeah.
Is Phil the GOAT on the board?
It's a good question.
You got to talk to Phil,
Yeah. No, that's
got to be an educated man.
The real
you also have guys like What Is Stick who kind of are going in. I don't know where What Is Stick is, what he's up to. I know that he'll be eligible next year. There's a lot of guys, these young kids that are just coming up, straight out of high school. They're going to, we're going to have another young class next year. That's all I'm going to say. If these guys keep balling and hooping like they are, we're going to have a very young class next year.
I'm really excited to see them in a big, congratulations to Stand Tall, too. Even though they did not win, they battled hard. I know I saw Jaden 2KL, formerly known as Jaden, I'm Jay Curry, was not very happy with Southwest Airlines on the timeline, saying that, of course, Southwest was the one who cost them a WR ring. And there's so...
Did we lose?
We got a great couple questions.
We just lagged for a second. Hang on. Let me make sure everything's good.
Let me know, because I keep popping in and out if I need to.
Yeah, let me make sure everything's good. Guys, chat, can you hear us? Sorry, we just lost connection for a second there.
Let me know.
Chat, let me know if we're good. You guys
feel good to me.
All right, looks good?
Yeah.
All right.
Look,
And no fault, we have not started on the Grizz yet. We will be starting on the Grizz after we do this segment of Over Under. But anyway, Harris and Joe, you can continue before, we got disrupted.
So we have a phenomenal, slew of events going on tonight. So if you all can, please make sure you retweet out the stream. Say you want to come hang with us. We haven't had a lot of 2K streams in a while, so come hang with us. We have some fun takes. We miss you all. Come talk shit. It's not a 2K league.
Listen,
I can say that, right?
Yeah, listen, you can come here and roast me. I don't care. Listen, you know me by now. I'll take it all. But listen, man, I'm excited because I love, obviously me and Harris, and Joe all love making 2K content. We all love this league, and we're all, excited for the season coming up. I'll be honest with you guys. These shows, in between, I think is one of my favorite things because it's kind of like our time to come together, talk some, just talk outside the game. And that's why, outside the sticks, yes, I know Joe hates the name, but it is a good name for something, outside of the 2K league, outside the sticks, But
I get the fact that you said that, but I respect that you just played it just like that. You're the worst. I just
listen,
but I digress.
All right. Anyway.
But yeah, all right, everyone. So we are going to start today with Over and Under, which is going to be another fun one that Champ wanted to throw out here. And to see pretty much get everybody's take on do we feel that this is going to be an over? Do we feel like it's going to be an under? Do we feel that this 2K League player or team is going to exceed expectations, or are they going to falter below? Big West, I see you in the chat. Big shout out to you. No, go Hornets. But getting back to it, I can't say anything else to that. Look, posted a Venom report. Gotta love the Hornets. Gotta love all that stuff. I'm still mad I haven't got my wings, though. That's the one thing we'll talk about, Wes. But that's off the camera. But getting to it, over, under, we're going to start with our first question. Going with Grizz Gaming. Of course, we saw Vandy have a stellar season. And I mean stellar preseason with his Pro-Am team with bright lights, with everything going on. They were really running the table pre-draft. Do you think that's going to translate? Do we feel that over, under, that Vandy will average more or less than 30 points per game? Since Harris, you are, the newbie here. You're one of the ones here. Look at the smile. You can go first.
Ooh, okay. I need to go first. Will Vandy have more or less than 30 points per game this year? I'll give Champ kind of an easy one here. I'm actually going to take the under on this. Not for Vandy's going to be bad this year, but mostly because how the rest of the offense and how the rest of the team is going to work around Vandy. So last year we saw Vandy without a real secondary offensive option at either sharp or center drop 30 points per game. This year, he's got offensive weapons everywhere. He's got Chess. Follow shoots the ball really well from three. Spartan shoots the ball really well out of the corner and has a nice post-game power forward. Authentic African is one of the best offensive bigs in all of 2K. So it's not necessarily that I don't think Vandy's going to be able to score. I think he's going to get his spots. But I think what Vandy learned in the offseason, what he learned with Bright Lights, is that you need to get your teammates involved. You got to get Authentic African involved. You've got to get your Sharp involved. Because if you don't get these secondary offensive engines involved, if you're not performing, the team is going to suck. And that was Grizz Gaming's problem in Season 2 or Season 3. If Vandy wasn't the great Vandini, the team was going to suck. So this year, for me, their game plan has to be get Authentic African 13 to 14 points per game. Has to be. It has to be getting Chess into the double-digit points per game. You'll probably see Follow up there at 7 or 8 points per game himself. And then maybe Spartan will be getting up there to 8 or 9 himself as well. So you kind of add all this together, and it kind of comes out to Vandy ending up kind of where Chalk was last year, like 28 points per game or 29. Maybe he does end up at like 30.2 or 30.3. But I don't think we're going to get to a point where he's at like 32, 33, 34. I think their offense as a team has to improve, not just his individual points per game.
Mm-hmm.
And, Champ, I'm going to offer the floor to you. Of course, we love the great Bandini, but do you believe in magic? Over, under?
Listen, I actually was going to take the under here, but you know what? I like to play the heel. I'm going to go on a different side of this. I'm actually going to go with the over. I do say that there are some players on this, we look at a guy like Spartan, someone who, I think had a much higher usage rate on the Mavs compared to most power forwards. And I think it's going to be tough on this. I will say it's going to be tough because you have a guy like Spartan who does need the ball a little to, obviously, develop and create something. And you have Chess, another guy who, like Harris said, you want him to, have over 10 points a game. But the question is, historically, Vandy is a guy who goes out there and he scores 30 points a game. His shooting guards have struggled, so I think that might have been the case for a lot of reasons why he might have gone, for a lot of points per game. So it really dictates on how well Chess plays this year. So yeah, I'm going to go with the over just because I'm not going to do the same thing as Harris. Come on, that's too easy. But I think that with Vandy, though, I'm looking at a lot of these PGs. They're going out here. They're scoring almost 30 points a game. The other day I was watching a scrim. I watched Dre score 58 points. So, I'm not really sure. Obviously, with League Build, it's going to be a little different. But, I'm going to go with the over just because I think that a lot of these PGs are going to go out here and they're going to score probably, I honestly think there might, how many PGs last year were over 30 points per game? I think you said like at least 4 or 5.
9.
9, wow. Wow, that's a lot. So, that's going to be tough.
Well, 8, because, again, Harris and I were arguing. Harris, we can't hear you. Are you talking?
Sorry, I was muted. It's really 8 because 2 of them came from the same team, but like...
Yeah. And, because we count FT because he played, 2-3 games tops. Like, are we really going to...
Yeah. Here's
it
the
doesn't
one
average his stats.
One other thing I'll argue with the under, and I don't like getting too much into the nitty gritty of individual 2Ks because I think at that point you're just getting way too much into the realm of projection versus actually being able to use real facts to talk about stuff. But like this 2K has proven that any position can score at a very high clip if used correctly.
Appreciate
and just based
Fox.
off what I know about the league build, the point guards this year are going to be good. And again, Joe, you don't have to give me points for this. The point guard builds are going to be good, but every position is going to be able to score this year. If you are a good scoring player at your position, you will score this year. So for me, I just think the Grizz have a lot of guys who can score this year. And also the only way they're going to be good at all is if multiple people score. If it's just Vandy out here dropping 35 a game and everybody else is like barely a secondary option on offense, they're going to go 8-8 again.
Yeah, I mean,
like they're going 8-8.
But it also just depends on the defense in this league build too. It depends how good defensively these teams are going to be. Are we going to have games where we're looking at like 40-point game, 58 to 62, or are we looking at games where it's going to be like 78 to like 87 type thing? Like something like that.
Yeah,
like
that's fair.
So
you can't know, and that's another annoying part about this is that like, are we going to have season 2 scoring where the most points per game is 23, or are we going to have season 3 scoring where the most points per game was 35? Right? Mm-hmm. Like we really have no idea what the scoring is going to be like this year. But Champ, I've told you and Joe this privately. Like I think this is going to be a very defensive transition-based league build, which it kind of was last year. Mm-hmm. So I think offense will definitely be there. But a better question is this: it's not will Vandy have more or less than 30 points per game. It's what's best for the Grizz. Is it if he has more or less than 30? I personally think it's better if they have less because that means that they're moving the ball more.
Yeah. So, and I would definitely have to agree with you because, of course, the fact that he's averaging 30 points per game, that means his volume and the amount that he's really using the ball. Like, of course, his usage rate. Like,
it's got to go down.
Tremendously high. But I also think it really is dependent on the cast of characters around him. That if we have a consistent chess, if we have a consistent follow, because look, when Follow's shooting out that corner and he's hitting. All right, cool. I'm gonna just go sit. This man could be just doing all the TikToks, doing all the crazy stuff he wants to be doing, and he's still getting buckets. Same thing with Chess. Chess could be out here lights out. They're having a great time, but if they're struggling, are you really passing the ball to these two when they're playing a little inconsistent? That's when you're going to have Vandy kind of take over himself or dish the ball out to Spartan more out the corner, have him work a little bit more, maybe AA a little bit more out the post. And this is where I really think, yes, they have options. They have plenty of options. The talent's there. It's just making sure, because if they're all playing consistently, I don't think Vandy will have over 30 points per game because, like you were saying, he won't need to. Because it's all based on them being consistent. If Follow's hitting out the corner, if Spartan's making plays, if Chess is complimenting, Vandy the way he was drafted as, the way he was drafted to be, as this, sharp, as the secondary ball handler, I think this team is going to be great. Vandy's not going to have to average. He might average 25 or something like that because, of course, all point guards do. But I think it'll really allow this team to be successful without Vandy having to score that. So if I had to vote, I personally would take the under because, hey, it's a team game, baby.
So who's getting the point here? I need to know now.
There's no points in over-under, bro. It's like a subjective thing.
Okay.
It is subjective.
It's a very,
Okay.
Yeah, I could give the points to the audience.
But just give it to me.
Yeah. But please, chat, let us know your take on this. Over-under. Maybe we get a poll going. Yep. We'll see how it goes.
Yep. But anyway, I'm going to pull up the next one. While we're doing that, I want to get the over. I'll get the over/under from the crowd. But the next one is going to be the timely cook steals per game. So just give me one moment. This one now I picked a really high number on this one, so this should be interesting. But I'll let Joe take it away while I'm putting the poll in the chat.
Everyone, our next question up is last year, Season 3, DPOI, and the man who broke records all over the place as, in Harris's vision, the best defensive player ever to play the game. And the person second to him was his point guard. But we're not talking about Kenny right now. We're talking about timely cook. The man averaged, and Harris, please correct me on this, I believe it was over 4 steals a game. Do we have the exact number? to just
4.17 steals per game last year.
4.17 steals per game, which is crazy if we're thinking about the realm of 2K and everything that's going on. Now, looking at what Timely and that Raptors defense did last year, do we think over under that Timely Cook will average 3.5 steals a game? Do we think that he's gonna average more again, or is he gonna average less? Harris, we gave you the floor last time. Champ is yours. Do you think, Chief?
I'm actually gonna go with the over this year. I think that a lot of people think that it was a fluke year for the Raptors, but everyone before the 2K League knew Timely has been one of the greatest defenders of all time to ever, play on the lockdown position. And I think he's going to continue that reign, especially now that he's added type. Listen, don't get me wrong. Jerry's a good defensive center. Jerry was a great center. But the thing is, you add type, another great defensive player. I think it's going to give him a lot. He's going to be a lot more comfortable defensively, and you're going to see him be a lot more aggressive, in my opinion, when it comes to a lot of things. So, I'm going to take the over. I think that, I think as well, let's think about it like this. Harris talks about the idea of a defensive league build. If this is a defensive year, and I think that, I can argue that Timely might repeat another defensive player of the year, in my opinion. I think that's what's going to happen. I think Timely's going to go back-to-back on defensive player of the year, and that's my prediction. And I think that he is going to have over 3.5 steals a game. And let's be honest, the guy right behind him was, Kenny. That team is just an overall great defensive...
With one defensive badge, might I say. But I digress. Sorry, go ahead.
But like I said, when I look at this Raptors team, I think they got better defensively. I think Sick was a better offensive player. I think Sick is a little better offensively, in my opinion. But when it comes to defensively, this team has gotten better. And I think that Timely Cook's going to be able to be more aggressive when it comes to playing on the lockdown position. He's going to be reaching more. And I just think that he's probably going to get over 3.5 steals a game. That's a crazy thing to say. Just saying 3.5. The fact that the guy had 4.2, what was it? You said 4.2? That's insane. Almost. But yeah. So I'm taking the over on this one.
Harris, your review?
Under. Look, I love Timely. I do. I think last year was the best defensive season that any player has or will ever have in the 2K League. I think we're going to look back on that season like NFL history looks back on Lawrence Taylor, or we're going to look back on that season like MLB, Major League Baseball looks back on Pedro's season in 2001. Like, it's just so obscene that you could never imagine somebody actually doing it. But I think what's craziest about that season, before I give the real reason for the under, is that, he didn't do it in 16 games. He did it over the course of 36 total games played. He did it in 16 series, but he did it over 36 total games played. Just remarkable. Will never be matched. Will never be touched. 4.2 steals per game. Will never be touched again. However, variance tells us that there is no way he gets back to that point. No way. Just like it's impossible that he shoots 69% from 3 again last year. It's just the mathematics behind it are just so obscene that if let's say he has 10 less games this year, then that's even more of a chance that he doesn't get that high of a steals number, because it's even less games where he has a chance of getting over 4 steals a game. For me, it really just comes down to variance. That was the most steals per game we've ever had an entire season. Kenny was second with the most steals we've ever had per game an entire season, and that was at 3.5. The next guy on that list was Crush at 3. If Crush finished the year at 3 steals per game and led the league in it, we'd be losing our minds over how amazing of a season that was. For me, that's probably where Timely will end up at the end of this year. Maybe 3, 3.1, 3.2, still probably tops in the league, but just based off of variance and how averages work in sports, unless he literally does Pedro 2001 again, there's no way he gets over 3.5 steals a game. It's just it was so obscene to do the first time. I can't see him doing it a second time, even though I still think that Timely is the best lock in the league going into this year. And by the way, Champ, you mentioned DPOY. This is probably for another argument on another day. He will not win DPOY this year. DPOY has a certain CRUSH feel to it this year. So as much as I enjoyed Timely's year last year, man, 3.5 steals a game again. I don't even know if it's possible to do that 2 years in a row. I literally don't even know if in the NBA 2K League it's possible to do that. But we'll find out.
I mean, but if there's anybody, Timely can do it. I'll be honest with you. This guy has, he's gone against the odds. I mean, that's still Troll Team back in the day went against the odds. I mean, that team was one of the best defensive teams, and I think they're going to repeat that. I think this is going to be, if Kenny and Timely stay together for a long time, this will be one of the best defensive teams for years to come, in my opinion. So, I mean, I understand where you're coming from. Yes, the chances of him going over 3.5, especially the way the game will be, it's tough. Going game to game, it's always going to be different. We're going to have games where you're, like I said, you're having high points per game, then you're having low. But again, I mean, if the defense comes out good again, yeah, I'm going all the way with 3.5. I mean, it's crazy to me that he had 4, but I think that Timely as just as a defensive player, I mean, I think he's going to eat up a lot of these guys again. I mean, I don't know what has changed. Like, what has changed about his game? It's not like he, this is not like the NBA where, you really decline that much. It's not like he's going to decline. If anything, I think he's either going to, repeat what he did, or he's just going to be slightly below it. I don't think it's going to be far off, in my opinion.
All right, but see, this is the thing that we forget that neither side has brought up. And, I'm kind of surprised about. We had, you kind of talked about it a little bit, Harris, but out goes Sick, in comes Type. So, of course, Type is known as one of the best defensive centers in the league. But, let's be quite honest, Type is also one of the most aggressive centers in the league, where he's out here really, in a sense, for a lack of better comparison, he's like Asante Samuel. For all of you out there who aren't old enough to know who Asante Samuel is, his son is actually in the draft this year, looking to go first round as well. But I digress. He was an aggressive cornerback that played for the Patriots and the Eagles. Go Eagles! But and look, the Patriots. Look at that. That's
fuck the Eagles.
Haters gonna hate, baby. Haters gonna hate. But we digress. But yeah, so he's just more of an aggressive player, and Timely, being an aggressive player himself, who's gonna have to take the back seat? Because I feel like the person who takes the back seat, whose steal numbers are going to dip. Because Type had great lane lurk steals too. He had great numbers. He was really moving on that one. So it's really going off that because Sick allowed Timely to be great and really pinch with Kenny and do all that stuff because he was protecting the back end, making sure that nobody's cutting, doing any kind of cuts, and really being able to protect the easy shots. So I really think that, last year we were talking about, this number being an anomaly. Let's be quite honest. Yeah, I see Complex in the chat talking about bump steals and shouldn't the on-ball number go up. It's going to be adjusted for the league build. I don't think bump steals are going to be as prevalent. I don't think that even with that great defense, I really don't think that he's going to average that number again. Because I just feel that unless Type gives in, there can't be too many cooks.
And I'll say this also. I also, Champion, you and I talked about this on my stream when we were previewing what the Raptors did or what the Raptors are going to do this year. And I think despite their amazing roster, and I think they have an amazing roster, this to me smells like a roster that regular season wise might be a little bit of a disappointment. And then in the tournaments and the playoffs just absolutely turns it on. Like this.
So it's the Nets.
Sure. This doesn't, I could be totally wrong. Right, and I probably will end up being. This doesn't really feel like a Raptors team that is gunning for 16-0 again. This feels like a Raptors team that is gunning for a title this year. And I think that their approach to this season almost has to be a little bit different than it was last year. It's not about accumulating the most stats. It's not about putting up the 16-0 record. I mean, if they can go 16-0 again this year, I'm sure they would. But this team, to me, if you just want to take, you just look at basketball in general, variance always wins. Returning to the mean always wins. Regression always happens. It is inevitable. Regression is completely inevitable unless you're Tom Brady. For me, this Raptors team is the number one target for regression in the entire 2K League. Not saying they're going to go from 16-0 to out of the playoffs, but if they go 16-0 to 12-4, that would make a whole lot of sense because that's just how regression works. And like You have time to cook up here 3.5 steals a game. Like, what about Kenny? Like, is Kenny going to be able to get 3.5 steals a game again this year? I don't think it's possible. I think regression is going to take him down to probably under 2.5, if anything. By the way, God Complex says in the chat, Breeze over Brady. Bro, you must not been watching football over the past decade, but I digress. I think the whole Raptors team is going to regress, but not to a level where they suck. Just to a realistic level where it's not about the regular season for them anymore. It's about winning a title.
And I mean, that's honestly where they should be, because of course they were able to be so great for so long, and they wound up. To be quite honest, I feel like they should have lost. They should have taken a loss, because if they took a loss during the regular season when it didn't matter, it would have taught them how to overcome and how to deal with that adversity. But the fact that they didn't lose until, it really didn't matter anymore, because if you lost, you're out. It kind of messed them up. So when they got really punched in the face, they didn't know how to rebound. And they were punched in the face earlier, for lack of better, I guess better metaphor saying, etc. there. I think they would have rebounded faster, and I think it might have been a different Raptors team, because they ran into a very hot Wizards team. And, Dave Fry was really gunning. He was kind of like Little Mac out there. He was really coming for the chin. So.
Yeah, and I think that, like, with that, it was something early in the season. It was kind of revenge early in the year. I remember talking to Sick early in the year and him telling me that he thought the Raptors and the Wizards were on the best teams in the league. And in that preseason tournament, wasn't that the championship for the preseason tournament, if I'm not mistaken? I think
No.
I thought
Wizards are definitely in it because they won it.
The Wizards won it.
Oh, yeah.
The second team won.
But I know.
Here's one other thing that I'll say in general. Sustained success in the NBA 2K League is so unbelievably difficult that you might as well call multi-year successful teams anomalies. You might as well call teams that are good 2 years in a row an anomaly, because that's really how it has been in the league. I mean, just look at last year. Go playoff team to playoff team and tell me how many of those were playoff teams this season too, right? Like it's such an anomaly to be good year over year in the league that I just don't think the Raptors are going to be able to do what they did last year, just based off of regression to the mean of the NBA 2K League. And this also, and I know this is going completely off topic, but like, this is why I always think it's so funny that people like to talk so much shit about Dimes. Like, everyone's like, oh, Dimes hasn't lived up to the hype of being the number one player in the league. And it's like, okay, season 2, they were sure, again, I understand the playoff success and the tournament success numbers are great. I totally agree with you there, but like, they're still one of the only teams in league history to make the playoffs in 2 straight years. Well, they're one of the only teams in league history to have double-digit win seasons in back-to-back years. And you look at a team like the Raptors, who went from, good to average to best regular season team ever. What does the NBA 2K League tell us that team is going to be this year? Probably just a regular, good old average, good team. So I don't know. I find the regression in this league to be so powerful.
Mm-hmm. I mean, listen, I definitely think it's it's not going to be easy to repeat results, but I don't think that it's going to be a huge, like, I do believe there'll be a drop off, but I don't believe it's going to be like this, like, huge, like, crash, I just don't think it's going to be that far off, in my opinion. I think that we look at their season, they're probably going to have like a 13 or 12-4 season, and I think that Timely is still going to have a great year. Maybe he does get like that 3.2 range, that 3.3 range, but I definitely think that there is a good chance that he does get above that 3.5 range, just because I think that when it comes to this team, I think that, again, this is going to be a team that's going to be made on the break. You're going to see this team getting so many steals and so many defensive stops that it's going to be about tempo with this team. The reason why the Raptors were such a high-scoring team last year wasn't because of how good their offense was. It was because how good their defense was. Their defense was so good to a point to where, like, you had, like, literally their offense was moving. And, like, Kenny, a lot of his points, not saying a lot of it was on transition, but it definitely...
No, let's be honest, a good amount were. And the fact that man felt like he was constantly on badge because of all the points they've really got in transition, which allowed him to fill up that meter.
So that's why I'm saying, like, I think that this team, that's what's going to drive their success and truly what they're made of. So, I mean, I think that they're going to repeat results, but maybe it won't be as high. But it definitely will be close, in my opinion. So, again, obviously, me and Harris, we went with Harris went with the under, I went with the over. But we will move on to the next one because, again, like I said, I love the Raptors. You know me, rising up here with the Raptors, all that good stuff. But listen, man, we're gonna move on.
He wears a Brooklyn Nets hat, but
I mean, listen, I like the hat. Okay, I have my Raptors one somewhere, but I have to rock the. I have to change it up a little. If I wear the same hat every day, it's gonna. People are gonna think, does he wash that thing? Like, listen, I have to have a different hat because if I wear the same one all the time, people are gonna think that thing is like stinky. Listen. I gotta represent my guys in Brooklyn. Shout out to my guy, King Kurt, and my guy YL. I appreciate all those guys. But anyway, we're gonna move on to the next over under, and that is with the Cavs Legion. And I'll let Joe go from here.
Sounds good. Okay, our next over under, and before a big shout out to everybody in the chat. Thank you all for watching, subbing, doing everything that you're doing. We see a big 41 in there. We'll definitely keep moving that up. Make sure you like and retweet it. We're going to drop that real quick in the chat. But as we talk about real quick in the chat, we're talking real quick here about the Cavs Legion and what they're doing. Because let's be honest, the Cavs have not been the greatest team since season 1. Since, Hood, Toxic, Sick. When they really turned up, they had a really nice team there. Now we're all the way back to season 4. They've had a lot of roster rebuild, including trading for Fab, which honestly one of the biggest deals of the offseason, but I digress. So now with this roster of Fab, of Strainer, of God of 2K, former DPOY, of Oreo, of Mario, and Big Ring, do we believe that the Cavs will be over 8 wins or under 8 wins? Harris, the floor is yours.
Over. Easy. Over. Not even a question. Over. I'm sorry, there's no chance they get under 8 wins this year. Or at least are an under... I'll say this. It doesn't matter about 8 wins. There is no way they are an under 500 team this year. There is too much talent on both ends of the floor for them to... If they get under 500 this year, it is one of the great coaching failures in 2K League history. It just is. I mean, the talent is there. The scoring is there. The defense is there. The rebounding is there. The depth is there. There's literally nothing about this team that doesn't scream stereotypical, good, above average NBA 2K team or NBA 2K League team. Mm-hmm. They have a superstar point guard. They have a highly efficient sharp. They have a lock that can shut down top options and gets a lot of turnovers and can start you in transition. They have multiple options down low at power forward and center that can score, rebound, pass, do just about anything you need at the power forward or center spot. The only way they're not going to make the playoffs is if Fab gets suspended again. That's it. That's the only way that this team won't go to the playoffs is if Fab gets suspended or they just suck. And, I think a lot needs to be said about, motivation and also situation. Last year, you look at the NBA 2K League and you look at a lot of the teams that were hit hard by COVID. A lot of them are playing games out of their apartments or out of hotel rooms or out of places where you're not used to, playing video games out of. This year, the Cavs Legion team will be playing every single one of their remote games out of the Lair, one of the best gaming facilities in the entire NBA 2K League. Top-end internet connection, top-end gaming setups for elite talent and good coaching. The only thing standing in their way is the fact that they might not get a friendly draw with conferences. That's the only thing standing in their way. And even then, I don't think it matters. Look, we have a lot of playoff teams. We had 10 playoff teams out of 23 teams last year. It sounds like we're going to end up with even more than that coming out of this season. I would be blown away if this team doesn't end up over 500 because they have everything. What don't they have? What doesn't this team have that you look at other teams and you're like, nah, that team has more of this than they do. They have elite talent at every single position. They have stereotypical role players at every single position. They have a superstar. They have X factors. They have up and coming players. They have consistent stalwarts. I don't know what this team doesn't have to at least be good. I don't think they're winning the title, but they're going to make the playoffs.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'll tell you right now. Hang on. I'll tell you what they don't have right now. They don't have Mario in market. That is the biggest thing in my opinion right now.
The league build isn't even in market yet. Let's not worry about isn't in market until we get the league build, you know?
But my biggest thing
Maybe
that
coming to Talon Mario. Who knows?
Yeah, right?
Yeah,
He's got
and
it. It's
Mario has it. Yeah, he has it in his hands right now. He has the league build. Listen, let me tell you something. I love Fab. I think Fab's a great player, but I think that the biggest thing about his career is that he always finishes strong but starts off slow, and that's kind of like a Vandy. It's funny because Vandy does the same thing, except Fab finds a way to make playoffs. I think that when I look at this team, yes, you have Oreo, you have Mario coming from overseas. You have Strainer, and you have a former defensive player of the year with God of 2K. But again, we don't know what the conferences are. They haven't been confirmed. I'm sure they will be soon. But from what I'm thinking, from what I've kind of panned out and what I think that's going to happen to the Cavs, I think that they're going to struggle early in the year. I do believe that, regardless of who's going to be in the Eastern Conference, it's going to be a tough year. It's going to be a tough year for all teams, but I think that this team is going to have a big adjustment period early on in the year, especially with a guy, like Mario, who's going to have to come over here. He's going to have to just get used to his environment, first of all. This is his first time coming to America. So I know those little factors don't really, people don't think that those things really matter, but it is a big factor. I mean, this guy is literally, coming to another country. So we have to account for the idea that, he's going to have to come over here. He's going to have to get adjusted. There's going to be a lot of pressure on Mario. And I think that we might see... I honestly think that Oreo might play center early on in the year. I think that's what's going to happen, in my opinion. But at the same time, we have to have league build come in market. Hopefully that comes in soon. But, again, there's a lot of things with Mario. Mario hasn't, we don't know how long it's going to be till Mario gets in market. But
I don't know if it entirely matters, because the Cavs did a really good job of drafting players that they're going to be able to mitigate his loss. I mean, like you said, Oreo can play center. If he can give you 90% of what Mario's going to give you, Big Rim is a perfectly capable power forward. His job is literally going to be, help with a little bit of rim protection and shoot out of the corner. I mean, shit, if Big Rim can't do that, then just get him out of the league now. Dude's a gamer. Maybe he's not a great lock, but I'm sure he can play the 4 and shoot a little bit out of the corner.
I'm just saying, Delaware's very own right there.
Yeah, hey, shout out to the Delmarva area, baby.
Look, Delaware's on top. But
it all comes back to Fab, man. It all comes back to the fact that they still have arguably the best 2K player in the world. Who cares? Literally, they dragged the Celtics to the playoffs with no Auto at center. No offense to no Auto, but he was a pretty average overall center in the NBA 2K League. I mean, look, last year, Fab with the Celtics, that team was just a disaster, okay? They had they didn't have the talent. They didn't have the defensive wherewithal to get anywhere. But this team, man, the second best player on this team probably would have been the best player on the Celtics last year. Strainer would have been the best player on the Celtics last year. God of 2K probably would have been the best player on the Celtics last year also. The talent on this team is too much for them to be bad. The only thing that's going to get in the way of this team being over 500 is the conference that they're in and the schedule that they're given. That's it. If their schedule is obscenely hard, I could see them slipping under 500. But if they have a league average, slightly lower, slightly above, just kind of that middle tier in terms of schedule difficulty, they'll be fine. They should definitely be able to win at least 9 games out of 16 with this team.
To be quite honest, it really all depends, because, look, if we're talking about coming to America, you know who else had success coming to America the first time? Eddie Murphy. All right? Eddie Murphy, that whole cast, that whole movie, because it was phenomenal.
Damn,
so
son,
I think
where'd you
we have
find
to
this?
give him, we have to give them just the benefit of the doubt right now, because, he might be a little packed up. Mario's looking for just greatness. They're going to the land. Okay, the kings, he's a king, whatever. We want to go. No, we're not going to go into all of that. But I'm just saying that they have enough talent. Harris said it himself, where, let's be honest, the biggest thing the Cavs, because they were in a lot of games last year, they just couldn't get over the hump. They just couldn't do it because they didn't have a point guard. Now, somebody like Strainer, who, let's be quite honest, we watched him play, he felt like he could play point guard, but he wasn't where he and his skill set fit, where he was just able to just go score, do things. Now you have somebody like Fab who's willing to pass the ball, but also he's a dynamic scorer that you really have to work on, that you really have to take account for. You have somebody who's super vocal like Oreo, who's going to swing, who's going to take, he's going to help with those liability issues that you say about Mario and his rebounding and stuff like that. You have somebody in Oreo who's probably going to play the pick and roll, who's going to be really great back there, who's going to be stalwart. You have Mario who's going to come in and just pretty much use his finesse. The European finesse, as people always try and say, we're not going to go all there. But, he's able to do that. And I think having somebody like Rim there, just, okay, worst comes to worst. All right, bet. I can come in at the 4. We can switch this up. Maybe God of 2K goes to the 4. Remember, he played it back then. All right, I'll switch here to 3. Hopefully, we don't have to see Rim there, but it could have been just that Knicks team. We don't know. But I think that they built themselves up so that they have a lot of depth. And I think that, again, we don't know what conferences are. If they are happening, if they're not happening, it really all depends on what's going on there. But if we're looking at this subjectively, it would be very difficult to say that they're not an over 8-win team this year.
I'm sticking with my under. I like I said, I agree with you, Joe. I get what you guys are coming at. I mean, it's really appealing to see Fab on that roster. I think that's the biggest thing. Without Fab on that roster, yeah, I don't think many people would see over 8 wins. But it's Fab. You know what I mean? It's a guy that has been great in the league. He's had his ups and downs, but I just think that with this current league and how strong all the other teams are, I think that they are going to struggle. I think they could be a 7-9 team, or maybe there's more games, I don't know, but they could be a 7-9 team, and I really do believe they will be close to 500, but there is a chance that they fall under 500 in my opinion, and I think it really depends how they start out. I mean, if this team starts out great, then they're going to finish great, but if I honestly think they're just going to start out slow. I think that it's going to be this, this adjustment period, and I think this team's going to figure it out late, like Fab typically does. Like, his team normally figures it out late, and I think that we're going to see those repeated results, in my opinion.
So the question is, though, and, getting a lot of hate in the chat and all that stuff, but if our guy, Mario, is able to really drop his and really perform well at a high expectation, and, they're looking good. If they're over 8 wins,
but that's the
thing.
coming
on here without, with the Spanish shirt, something like a flag on or something.
That's the thing, Joe, isn't it, right? Like, he just talked about, like, all those reasons about, like, what's going to happen if the Cavs are bad. What happens if Mario comes in and is, like, just a very good center? Then they're definitely above 500. So, for me, it's just, I think it has to go this way. More teams in general this year, I think, are going to be more towards like the middle in terms of 500 records. But at the same time, there's more working for this Cavs team than there is working against them. And I think that's a really important point when it comes to this team. The only things really working against them are like when Mario's getting into when Mario's getting into market and Fab's temperament. Like, that's all that's really working against the Cavs. They've cleared out a lot of bullshit off of this team to make a very clear statement that they want to make the playoffs this year. So, for me, I just, there's no way this team goes 500. They feel like such an easy slot them in as a mid to low tier playoff team. Like, it's literally just get Fab to the playoffs and see what happens from there. That's all it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, again, like I said, I mean, Mario could, if Mario has a great year, then this team is going to go to the moon. I mean, I think that if Mario and Fab turn out to be really good this year, because we got to remember, Fab did, he averaged 30 points per game, but I'll be honest with you, I think that one thing that hurt the Celtics last year was the fact that he had to have that high usage rate, and no one else could take over for him, so he had to have that high usage rate. But if Mario can take that steam off of Fab and Mario can show up, yeah, this team is beyond just a playoff team. I think that they could possibly go deep in tournaments if Mario shows up. And I think that we all want that. I think that we all want Mario to be successful, but I think that it's going to be a big challenge for him. There's a lot of pressure on him, in my opinion. So, in my opinion, I'm still going to go with the under, but we are going to move on to the last over-under. And that has to do with my guy, Sav. Obviously, talking about players with high usage rates last year, Sav had probably one of the highest. I mean, I'm sure Harris has that number somewhere. But, I mean, I'll let Joe take over on this one. Obviously, the over-under is about Sav.
All right, so, we have here the guy from Canada who's all out in the snow, who is pretty much let's be quite honest, his time in LA was kind of chilled. So now he was shipped off to Miami. He's there now with Hotshot, with Deez, with Shifty, with Gooner, and with, of course, some other amazing players that I'm kind of blanking on right now at this time where they're 6th player overall, and I do apologize for that. Don't have them up in front of my face. But they do have a great roster going on. Actually, I am lying. I'm looking at it right here. Juan. How could I forget Juan? But you got to remember. But the question is, though, Sav had a great usage rate. He had a very high usage rate with that LA system where they weren't the best. They were kind of the worst team in the league last year. Do you think that with all of these weapons being in Miami now, that Sav will have over or under 7 assists per game? Harris, you have the floor.
Over. Easily. Without question. Like, 7? 7's easy. 7, he'll get 7, he'll average 7 by game 3. You want to talk about 8? You want to talk a little bit about 9? You want to talk about maybe getting it to double digits? Then we can start talking about what over-under is. But for a guy like Sav, you're basically saying that he's going to end up with you're saying that he will end up with somewhere between 6.9 sub assists per game on a team that features him, Gooner, Shifty, Juan, and Hotshot. You're telling me that over the course of a season, 7 times a game, he is not going to get them the ball to score? 7 times a game with those 4? You're crazy. That's 1.3 assists per guy. He might get 7 assists to Hotshot in one game before he's even gotten to the end of the half. Like, this team is, look, the only thing that's going to stop this Heat team is defense. What are they going to be like this year defensively with Shifty and Hotshot? Because last year that defensive combo did not work out. It didn't. Didn't matter who they had at the 4. The Shifty Hotshot defensive combo was a failure. Just flat out was. And also not to mention that Glenn Ratty, I'm telling you, dude, he needs to stop leaking. Man, it's so funny. Everyone's like, oh, Glenn Ratty has changed his game so much. That dude still leaks out like crazy on every single defensive possession and gets killed for it every single goddamn time. Stop leaking. But if you're talking to me about over-under 7 assists per game for Sav on that team, over. Easily. He might be double digits by the end of the year. If he can't do what Chalk did last year with that Nets team and at least be top 3 in the league in assists again on this team, then none of us know what we're watching. Because this dude clearly showed a penchant for being able to not only he can move the ball, but that he wants to. That was the thing that bothered me so much with the Lakers team last year. He clearly wanted to move the ball a lot. He clearly wanted to get the other guys on his team involved. And even though we look at the Lakers team and we say, oh my God, they sucked so hard, he still had 9 assists a game last year. You're telling me he can't at least match that this year on a better team? You crazy. Over easily.
Mm-hmm. And Champ,
join me, Champ. Come to the overside.
I am going to the overside on this one as well.
There you go.
I definitely should have probably put the number a little higher because I was thinking about it more and I was looking at the averages last year, and I think that if anything, this category will probably go up for Sav, especially now that he's on a team that will actually hit their shots. The fact that he had as many assists per game that he did have last year is actually quite impressive. You think about it with that team and how much they struggled. I mean, I definitely think that he's got some great weapons. I mean, Gooner is going to show up. I think Gooner's going to be very good this year. He's going to do his thing. He's probably going to be a guy that's averaging over probably either 10 or 12 points per game. I mean, you have Hotshot. Hotshot, I mean, this guy finally, we talk about guys like Ramo and Hotshot who never had point guards. They finally both had PGs. I'm curious to see who's going to have a better year this year. But, I mean, having Hotshot at your center, that's someone that's definitely going to be able to, give you a lot of assists. I think that, obviously, a lot of people sleep on Juan. I mean, people have to remember Juan is another guy that, I mean, he might be a huge steal as much as, like I said, I don't like what he did with the Raptors and that whole situation, and obviously there's more to it, but I mean, that guy is definitely one of the better power forwards in the game, and he's probably going to be someone that's going to be a lot bigger of a role than we actually know for that Heat team. But yeah, I think Sav is going to have well over 7 assists per game. I think the fact that he did that with the Lakers, I mean, he probably might be a guy that he might average double for all we know. He might be a guy that has that them 10 assists per game in my opinion. But that's definitely something that's definitely going to be very challenging for him to do. But I'm going with the over. Me and Harris for the first time we're going to be agreeing on this one.
You know what? Just to make it even more of history, I'm also going to agree because we're going to go 3 for 3 here. Let's be honest. If we really watched Lakers gaming last year, Sav can find the open man. What happens? They wind up bricking it. They wind up missing. If teams even just hit 5 shots, the man is up the scoring boards. He's up the average, like that assist average. He's doing a lot more. So I think, like you said, he has more weapons. He has more people that are going to do that. I think that the gravity that not only Sav, but Gunnar, you have to respect Gunnar. You have to respect the shooter that Juan is. You have to respect the shooter that Shifty is. And just what Hot Shot does, just because of the gravity of a lot of those players, there's going to be somebody open because they're going to go help. They're going to help rotate. They're going to make them pay. So I think that as long as Sav gets out of his mindset of, hey, I don't have to do this all on myself anymore, I think that he will have the opportunity, and I think he will average over 7 steals a game. I mean, 7 assists per game, not steals. We're not there. But, 7 steals. I'm like looking at this, looking at that. But yeah, I believe that he will average over 7 assists per game. So all 3 for the over.
Okay. Well, anyway, guys, that concludes the over/under segment. We are going to move on to now we're going to move on to the segment where we're basically asking the biggest questions for all 23 NBA 2K League teams. This week, we obviously have 3 teams, the first team being Grizz Gaming. And I'll let Joe take over from here, and we'll start asking the biggest questions around all 23 teams.
Of course. So we're going to kick it off like our guy Champ just said. Grizz Gaming. We're out here in Memphis, baby. We have this brand new roster. We have the great Vandini. Shout out to Harris for the nickname. We have Chess. We have Follow. We have Spartan. Authentic. And, of course, the incumbent D-Double. We can't forget about our guy D-Double. Now, if the Grizz don't see improvement, do you feel, especially looking at this lineup, this phenomenal talent that's going on here, do you believe that it's time for Vandy or AA to get traded? Champ, we'll give you the floor first.
Okay. So here's my thing about it, okay? Hang on. I have to actually find my shades for this one because this one is actually a great question. Of course I can't find my shades. But listen, I'm going to say...
ran from you.
Oh, you know what? Actually, I did find them. All right? Listen, I'm going to say something. Okay? I need to talk... Listen, I know that someone from Grizz Gaming is watching right now. I am telling you that if this team... does not even... The thing is, I feel like the expectations are very high this year. Because, I mean, you guys had multiple first round picks. If you guys do not at least get some tournament money, my God, this team, it's like, I don't think this team, how many tournament games have they won? I don't even care what they do in the regular season. Yeah, okay, they go 8-8. I want to see what they can do in a tournament. I'm tired of seeing this, these early exits. I'm tired of seeing this team just not winning anything. So... I mean, I think that if they don't have an improvement on their success, Vandy is going to be traded off this team. He'll probably be an expansion team. I'll be honest with you. He's probably going to get traded to an expansion team in the fall if he does not, do well this year. That's my prediction for Vandy. I think that he gets traded. I think that they keep Authentic. I think that Vandy's going to be the piece that gets moved. Because this guy has one of the highest usage rates, and it's just not equating to wins. So I think they're going to have to switch it up. I think they move on from Vandy. I think Authentic stays. I think that, you have a guy like Chess who's going to be able to, knock down shots. You have Follow who, in this pre-draft, he's been a very good defensive player, so there's not an excuse. And you have Spartan, a guy who can go out there and get a bucket for you at the power forward position. I mean, Vandy has a lot of weapons, and he's got to be able to use them. That's the biggest thing for Vandy this year. It's not about him scoring 30 points per game. I want Vandy under that 30 points per game. We talked about that earlier in the show. We want Vandy under 30 points per game. If he's averaging that high, it's likely that this team is probably on the cusp of not making playoffs, in my opinion. So I think that, yes, there is a very good chance that it's probably going to be Vandy over Authentic, in my opinion, that gets traded in this situation.
Harris, please.
Joe, how animated do you want me to be? Give me 1 to 10.
Bro, yo, I'm feeling like an 8 right now.
Like an 8? Okay. Solid 8. All right.
Room to improve, as this game go.
Little 8 for you. All right, I can do 8 for you.
Okay,
so I'm gonna make this extremely clear. There is absolutely no goddamn way that Grizz Gaming trades Vandy or Authentic, regardless of what happens this season. It's not gonna happen because at the end of the day, the reason the Grizz are gonna be good or bad is not gonna be relying on them. If the Grizz are bad this year, it's because of the other players on the team. It's just there is no universe where Vandy and Authentic are bad this year at the same time. They're just not. Their level of talent is way too high. They've been playing this game more than I think any other League Pro almost has going into any version of the 2K League since I want to say Season 2. There is no way that either of these dudes get traded. They already run the show behind the scenes anyway. Lang relies on them for a lot of stuff, including scouting, drafting, personnel management, everything. And on top of that, let me ask you this. Why haven't they traded them already?
I think this is their last chance.
Why haven't they traded them already? Why did they trade them at the end of last season? 2 straight years, no playoffs. Why did they trade them already?
I think you give someone one more chance.
Why would you trade them after 3 years instead of 2?
I think it's just been bad drafts, and that's what they've been blaming it on. But this is considered a good draft. These are good players.
So what you're saying is that they're going to get traded this year because it's now not everybody else's fault. It's going to be their fault.
I mean, dude, we saw 2 MVPs get traded after 3 successful years.
Is it their fault again?
It's the quarterback's fault. If a franchise is bad, it's the quarterback's fault.
But the reason they haven't been traded yet is because it is relying on others.
It's been blamed on other people. It's been blamed.
People in this league do not get traded based off their teammates. Okay? They get traded in this league because of their individual performance. And so far, Vandy and AA, in terms of individual performance, have never even gotten close to the spectrum of wanting to get traded. Other players who are better than them have gotten traded due to suspension reasons, requesting trades, eras being over. But Vandy and AA being traded, coming off of 2 very good statistical seasons without a trade request, would be a complete anomaly based off of the trades that we have seen so far in this league. Not to mention, you need to look at the guy who's also running the show. Why would Lang, a guy who self-admittedly doesn't have a lot of 2K knowledge, why would he trade a guy like Vandy or AA when he isn't 100% sure that he's ever going to get back a player at either position that will ever be as good as those 2?
I mean, we got Token. They got.
Stop. This has been like my point for a long time with like a lot of players on a lot of these different teams. There are players who are on specific teams that if they play well enough will be on those teams until they decide not to be. It happened in Blazer 5 with Mama and Walnut. It's going to happen with a guy like Reg in Milwaukee. It's going to happen with a guy like Hotshot in Miami or whatever. They will be on their respective teams until they ask their GM to be moved. Vandy and AA will be a part of Grizz Gaming until Grizz Gaming ceases to exist or these 2 request the trade. Because if Lang just outright trades either of these 2 guys, he is opening himself up to be bad forever. Vandy and AA, truthfully, unless they get back a steal of the century with trade value, they are their ticket to ever being good. They trade these guys, it's over. Forever. They're never going to find anybody with talent levels equals to both of these guys. You might find a point guard who is as good as Vandy. Or maybe you find a center who is as good as Authentic. But there is no way that you find a guy at both of their positions that is as good as both of them.
I think that, listen, anybody's tradable in this league. We've seen this by now. So to say that there's not, listen, I am telling you that if you've been average for 3 years. Has Charlie been
traded from the Warriors?
No, because they've been great.
They've been good. Here, example of a player who's been on bad teams that hasn't got traded. Kenny didn't get traded after 2 full years of sucking on the Raptors.
No, they made playoffs in season 1.
They weren't good. Not because of Kenny.
Kenny wasn't bad. Kenny
was an average player season 1, and they were an average player season 2.
And they gave him that 3rd chance, and look what happened. It's not.
Breezy didn't get traded after Rookie of the Year Season 1 last year was awful. Didn't get traded.
Okay, but you have room for that one bad year. Okay, he had one good year and he had one bad year. So it's bounced out.
Year? Has
he's been
had a bad year?
He's had average years. Yeah,
they have not had average years. Both of them have had
their records have been average.
Years.
I'm glad their
stats
both of
them are above average.
Listen, there are NBA players.
He was an elite point.
There are people all the time
being one of the top 3 best offensive locks in the league.
There are people all the time. No. There are people all the time that are average in the listen. I don't care how good your numbers are. That's the biggest thing is I think there's so many people in this league that have inflated numbers that keep them.
You think Vandy's numbers are inflated?
Yes, I do.
How is his numbers inflated?
Because
what makes it? No. I love hearing this when it comes to what inflates his numbers, despite the fact that he's the only player on his team that can score.
His usage rate is so high to the point.
But then, Champ, you've been misunderstanding of what usage rate means. Usage rate does not mean inflated stats. The high usage rate usually means that there is a lack of effectiveness on the rest of the roster, and they have to go to him in order to have any semblance or chance of winning. That's what usage rate means.
But if someone is how many? If we look, I guarantee you, if we look at shots per game, he should be averaging over 30 points per game. He should have a good year. Yes. Is Vandy the best player on his team? Yes, he is. But the thing is, sometimes you need to trade for somebody to get more pieces for Vandy. If Vandy's that great, get more spread out talent. Get more talent for him.
Spread out talent. You need a point guard to win in this league.
Yes, but you can You can still get a great point guard. And
all right. I'm calling it.
Who are you getting? Who?
I'm calling it because I love the debate. I can sit here. Honestly, I was about to leave for a second, go grab a bag of popcorn, and just sit here and just enjoy the chaos because that's what I'm here for. But to be quite honest, looking at it, if the Grizz don't see improvement, do you feel that Vandy or AA get traded? Look, this is a very double-edged sword because, they've been balling out this offseason. I think that if they show what they're doing, if they continue to progress the way they've been doing, and if they're not the reason, they stay. But to be quite honest, Vandy's on his 3rd season, AA's on his 4th season. Sometimes it is time to just refresh things. I know that Lang loves them, and this is where it's very difficult, but sometimes you just need to maybe switch it up. Because let's be quite honest, Champ's out here saying, one person's going to be traded, things like this. You're right. I think that if anybody's going to be traded, it's going to be AA, though. Because it's very hard to find a competent point guard in this league.
That's your damn mind to think that they're trading Vandy. You are out your damn mind to think that they're trading Vandy.
See how
crazy.
Depends what they get in return.
But again,
but there's no package that you're going to get in return that's going to save
you're telling me there's no future PGs that can come.
It's done.
Not with the package for Vandy. No.
It's done. I think that there are a lot of tremendous point guards coming, but I also think that, of course, we're all throwing everything up to chance, like every draft going on. But I think that we have to understand that, hey, going on a 4th season, a 5th season, 4th season and 3rd season, if they're not successful, if they don't make the playoffs again, you have to make moves to your franchise. So for the first time ever, and I hate to do this, I'm going to have to award the point to Champ only for that rate. The other stuff, I think the phenomenal arguments.
He didn't make a single point, Joe, but you go.
He made one slight point. He made one slight point. That's just
Joe. I made like 6 amazing points. He didn't even bring up a single reason for why they would get traded. His only reason were if they're bad, you could trade them. That's not a reason.
Listen,
sorry, are you saying that you?
No, Joe. I'm just saying that already you're judging a suspect. But fine, go on to the next question. It's fine. Go on to the next question. No, it's fine. He didn't make a single point that made any resemblance of sense. He even misunderstood how stats are used in the league, and you still give him a point. But go off, Joe. It's fine. Go off.
I have to. It's just
fine.
like
go off. No, it's fine. You're playing favorites. It's okay. Go for it.
Definitely favorites.
I'm flabbergasted because he literally didn't make a single point that made sense. But no, it's fine. Go on to the next one.
It's all good. I'm glad we're not betting people because that would be an upset.
You'd already be losing.
But all right, moving on to the same question. So this time coming on, we have Spartan, who was drafted to this team after having a pretty solid year in Mavs GG. Do you feel that Spartan can bring the same success to this team as he did Mavs GG? Harris, the floor is yours.
It's kind of a silly question because, duh. Obviously, he can bring the same success to this team. He certainly can. If the question is can he, absolutely he can.
I feel like let's change it to will he.
This is a bad question because of course he can.
So all right, so we'll switch it this way. Do you feel that Spartan? Do you feel that Zay will bring better production for the Mavs team, or do you feel that Spartan will have better
define production? Because they have entirely different roles.
More valuable.
There's no way you can quantitate value based off how different their roles are.
Okay, so do you feel that after this season, do you want to go glitchy 25? Do you want to go all pro? Because we can go all kinds of ways with this. You know, it's very difficult to judge power forwards in the scope of everything. It's not as easy as like point guards or guards.
I'm confused on the question. I think since Champ came up with a bad question, I should get a free point.
No, that's BS. Okay.
There's no question to answer.
Listen, my question, my biggest thing is, what is Spartan's success going to be on this team compared to what he was before?
Like, you can't quantitate that.
Scratch this. Do you feel that, what production do you feel that Spartan brought to this team, and what will bring to this team, and do you feel that it's going to be bigger?
Your question is, what kind of impact is Spartan going to bring to the Grizz?
I mean, again, I'm just trying to go off of this because
Chad, what's the question here?
Well, basically, the question is asking: is he going to have a better year than last year? With this current Grizz roster.
Is he going to improve?
Yes.
Well, I think he's going to play an entirely different role than he did last year. He's going to have his job last year was to cover up for Pete, who's having a pretty poor season all around over the first half of the year when Spartan was really going off. And then going into this year, his role is different. Defensively, he's going to have to be the point man on the back end since AA defends corner well. He also covers pick and roll well. Spartan could do both either. But the role is going to be different because this year, defensively for the Grizz, they're going to have to switch a lot, especially down low, because AA can do both and so can Spartan. So his role on this team versus role in the Mavs last year is going to be entirely different. What he's definitely not going to be doing this year is putting the ball on the floor. Because what we saw last year with the Mavs is that they had to give him the ball a lot to score because their offense was trash. They did not have a good offense last year. Sherm did not average enough points per game to have a resemblant offense. Dimes did not score enough on that team to really do anything. Pete was almost under 10 points per game. So they had to go to Spartan to give them a real offensive boost. There's no need for an offensive boost this year for the power forward position. They have Vandy, they have Chess. Follow shoots well out of the corner, and Authentic is one of the best offensive players in the entire league. So all that Spartan is going to have to do this year is shoot well out of the corner, defend well on rotations, and make sure that if AA loses his spot pick and roll wise, then he'll be fine. I really think that Spartan got given the best power forward role in the entire league. He's flanked by a lock and a center that know what they're doing out there with league experience. He knows what his role offensively is going to be. I don't really see a reason why Spartan would be able to match what he did last year. What is he going to take a massive step back? Like, his role is going to be extreme enough that, for instance, here, I'll give you this last year. I'll give you an example. D-Double last year, no offense to D-Double. D-Double last year was the worst power forward in the league statistically. Not even close. He was the worst power forward in the league statistically. The team still almost made the playoffs. So my point is that power forward only has so much impact in general, and now you're bringing over Spartan, who was good last year. There's no reason why he shouldn't be as good last year. There's nothing on this team that should make him worse than he was on the Mavs.
It's called complete audible to this question, so we can just debate this period because
I'm just not sure how. Yeah,
there's no true question that was there. It's just trying to come up with it. Just. No, his effectiveness.
The question is, can Spartan bring the same success for this team as he did Mavs GG? I mean, absolutely. There's nothing stopping him on this team from being a better version than what D-Double was last year. I mean, D-Double shot 34% out of the corner last year as a power forward. That's hard to do, being that poor out of the corner with a build that literally dictates corner shooting at the power forward build. So Spartan, who was a registered good three-point shooter and is a registered good defender, yes, 100%, no question.
I mean, listen, I think that Spartan's going to be able to show his defensive side on this team a lot more. I think that the only thing about this roster is, his offense is going to go down. Like, the amount of points per game that he scores is going to go down with Vandy. I don't think he is going to have the same production. I think that he'll still be good, but I just don't think he's going to have that same production. I think that with Vandy, again, I think that Vandy and Chess are going to be the main things. I think the biggest thing is his defensive side with him and Follow. I think that Spartan and Follow are going to be big for this team. I think that it's really important what his success is on this team, because I think he's what's actually going to drive this team to the playoffs. I know a lot of people wouldn't agree with most power forwards, but I think that with him defensively, it's going to be really important for this team. I don't think he's going to get that opportunity like he did offensively on the Mavs, because he's not going to have a struggling point guard. He's going to have a point guard that can take care of himself and essentially go out there and score. But I think that it's not going to be the same. I think that it's going to go down a little on the offensive side, but defensively, I think it might go up. But
he only averaged like 7 points per game last year.
Yeah,
to be quite honest, again, a lot of the reason why he's not back in Dallas is because the fact that he wanted a little bit more of a usage rate, the ball in his hands more, and it just didn't work with what was going on.
I mean, he shot 47% from three out the corner last year. That's his job. That's his job this year. Shoot 47% out of the corner. If the freaking Grizz had 47% out the corner last year for their power forward, they're a playoff team. Book it. I'm sorry. Like, I don't mean to be mean to DRIBBLE, but like, I truly believe that he was like 50% of the reason they didn't make the playoffs last year. Like, he was that bad, and they had no replacement for him. So they continue to have to play him out of position. I want to add, because he is a natural lock, not a natural power forward. But like, if you take Spartan from the Mavs last year and you put him on the Grizz from last year, the Grizz are a playoff team. So if you take Spartan from last year and put him on this version of the Grizz team, they should be a playoff team easily.
I mean,
but it's not going to be easy because it's the Grizz.
Yeah. I mean, listen, like I said, I think that I think that his success is going to be really important for this team. I think that what Spartan does is really going to be pivotal, in my opinion. I know that obviously you look at the PG and you look at the center, but I think that I personally think that his role is bigger than people are going to put it out to be. And like you said, Harris, I mean, if he shoots better than DRIBBLE, that's going to be a huge difference maker. I think his role is going to be bigger on this roster. They didn't just draft him to be a guy that just sits in the corner. This guy is, we've seen in the preseason, he's been able to do more things and, a lot more than most power forwards can do. Use that. Don't waste that talent. But yeah, I think his success, I mean, it's not that he's going to be bad. I just don't think he's going to get, he's not going to have the amount of production that he had before. And I think it's going to come more on the defensive side for him.
I think, really, to be quite honest, we can always go with the cop-out answer. And I want to just allow this to keep moving on. Please check your text messages. But yes, we are going to move on to the final. Look, I'm going to give this point to Harris. Point blank period. That was easy. Champ, you kind of shot yourself. You kind of climbed yourself out, but didn't. But it's okay. Moving on to the next question.
And by the way, my phone's dead right now, Joe.
Of course. So what do you feel is the team's biggest strengths and weaknesses? I'm going to mute my camera, and you guys go. I'm still listening, and we'll have that. So, of course, Harris, you start first.
Cool. So I'll start with strength, and then I'll go to weakness. The team's biggest strength this year is going to be their three-point shooting. They have 4 very good, above-average three-point shooters on their team, in Vandy, Chess, Follow, and Spartan. Arguably a 5th with Authentic if they choose to put him on a popper build. Their ability to shoot from the perimeter should take a massive step forward, which has been, without a question, it's not even close, their biggest weakness the past 2 years has been the fact that they have not been able to shoot well from 3. Their sharps have sucked. Their power forwards have sucked. Their locks have sucked. Everybody has sucked shooting the 3 ball for this team over the past 2 years. It should be a huge, huge improvement for this team this year. They have the people. They have the players to do it. So their three-point shooting to take a huge step forward. And then their biggest weakness, to be totally honest, is going to be ISO defense. What is his team going to be like against Reg? What is his team going to be like against Charlie? What is his team going to be like against Kenny? No, I really do like Follow. As much as I like Follow as a player, I think he's still going to have struggles against some of the best ISO point guards in the entire league. And I think those guys are going to have a lot of potential to rip those guys up. I think Follow is one of the best team defending locks I've ever seen. I think he's very good at handing guys off to his big men down low if he's gotten beaten. I think he's an amazing communicator. I think he's great at organizing and formulating defenses, especially in the half court. But I think the only issue is that his individual stick skill can suffer at times against top-end point guards. That was my scouting report on him. That's my scouting report I'm going to maintain. I think he's a very good lock, but I think that he's going to have an issue defending the big-time point guards this year, and there's going to be a problem with them. What's going to happen if, Mama comes into town or whatever their schedule is, Mama comes into town and drops 50, and Vandy doesn't match him? Like, the team's going to lose. So they're going to have to find a way to make sure that their ISO defense and their ability to switch can make sure that they don't get roasted by those huge games, and also allow their three-point shooting to eventually take over games. Because, there are a few rosters that have top fours that on paper are as good at three-point shooting as this Grizz team. They should be one of the top 4 to 5 three-point shooting teams in the entire league efficiency-wise by the end of the year.
Mm-hmm.
Champ, your response.
My response to this team, okay, so obviously the biggest strength is going to be Vandy and Authentic. Those two guys, that pick and roll combination, those guys are probably going to be, I think it's going to be a breakout year. According to Retail and how well he's done, obviously, Harris isn't a big fan of Retail, but I think that with this, the amount of time that Authentic and Vandy have put in this year, I think they're going to be the biggest strengths for this team, with their pick and roll offense. I think their biggest weakness, you could say that it could be defensively, but I think it's going to be chess. I think their biggest weakness is he could end up panning out to be very good. But I think that with chess, I think that he does struggle at times. And I think that, I don't think he'll be like J-Rod. But the thing is, the biggest issue for Vandy was just not having a shooting guard who is, basically shooting well. And we need Chess to shoot well. And if Chess doesn't shoot well, then yeah, he will be the biggest weakness. It's tough to say if he will be a bad shooter, but I think that there is a chance that Chess can struggle, and I think that he possibly could become the biggest weakness on this team. But also, if he is good, then this team's going to be a playoff team. They're going to be a 10-6 team if he's good.
What would he have to do to be how bad would he have to play for you to consider him a weakness?
Just shoot as bad as J-Rod. I don't know what J-Rod's shooting was, but he'd have to be just as bad as J-Rod.
It was pretty average.
So, he's got to be better than... my biggest thing is he's got to be better than J-Rod. That's the number one thing for Chess, in my opinion, when it comes to him. He's got to be able to, have a, he can't shoot. He shot, 42%? I don't know what the league average was last year for shooting guards, but... I felt like a lot of people think Chess did really well at the end of the year. I think he did average. I think he did solid, but I don't think he did great. So in my opinion, he's just got to be better than J-Rod. That's the biggest thing. And if he does the same numbers as he did at the end of the last year, I think that he will be their biggest weakness. So I'm looking at J-Rod's numbers now. Yeah, J-Rod shot 47%. And with more games, and Chess shot 44%. So if Chess, plays like he did at the end of the last year, yeah, I think that he's gonna have, he's gonna be their biggest weakness, because he can't be shooting like that. He has to shoot well above 47%, in my opinion, because that was the biggest issue. And I think that for this team, I think that it's gonna be pivotal for him to be successful with shooting. And I think that Chess is the biggest weakness for this team, in my opinion, right now.
Yeah, and which one did you say for the strength?
The strength, I said that it was Vandy and Authentic with the pick and roll. I think that with those two guys, we already know what to expect out of them. They've been good. They put up the numbers. Yes, that could be a trade. Yeah. So sometimes, but
no comment, no. Look. And here's what I'll say. He's not wrong that the pick and roll needs to be important, but Vandy and Goofy last year, their pick and roll was fine. It was league average. It wasn't anything to really call home about. But the reason the Grizz were bad last year, straight up, 100%, no questions about it, was because they could not shoot from the outside. They could not. Vandy was a decent shooter from three, I mean, the dude shot 46% last year from 3, which is pretty good. I mean, it's okay. But the problem was that they had a power forward who couldn't shoot from the corner. They had a lock that couldn't shoot from the corner. And they had a sharp that shot like 46% from 3. Like, they did not have perimeter shooting last year. They did not. And over the course of an entire NBA 2K League season, if you do not have that engine of three-point shooting, you're going to be a middle-tier offense. And last year we saw that the biggest difference between those 60... what's up?
We're getting told in the chat that we're getting tunnel, so, Champ, you need to turn down the volume.
Tunnel audio? Yes.
Tunnel audio.
It's coming through twice.
Yeah.
Let me check why it's coming through twice. It might be coming through my mic. I don't know. Let me check.
We bumped it up earlier.
See how that is now.
Check, 1, 2, 3.
How to check.
Checkity, check. Is that better? Is that any better?
Better to me. Yeah, that's definitely.
Yeah, it sounds better.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. So anyway, as I was saying, the pick and roll offensive improvements are fantastic. But it will mean nothing if they shoot like shit from 3 again. It just won't. It'll mean nothing. If they shoot like shit from 3 again, they're not making the playoffs. No, like they have to shoot well from 3. And ironically, that on paper is going to be their biggest strength this year, is their improved 3-point shooting.
So, okay, we're going to go with this. And just to double check, we're looking at, so Champ overall saying that chess is going to be the biggest weakness of this team, his shooting. And then I believe Harris, you were saying more so of ISO defense. Is there
ISO defense? Not necessarily follow, because I don't want to put it all on him, because there's way more to ISO defense than just your on-ball defender. But yeah, ISO defense as a whole for this team. Like, what's going to happen if somebody gets matched up on Vandy or Chess? Like, I think it could be a real concern for this team.
And because, of course, it's our third question of each round, we're going to give this one to the chat. So please, if you can put it in there, if you can say that if it's either Harris or Champ, throw it up there.
Yep.
Let's see what the chat decides as we continue to move on, and we'll award that point. Give it a little bit of time too. Like, we want to let it 2 or so minutes. We can't let them just decide in 30 seconds. So give them some time. Let's get the chat involved, and we will move on.
So I don't know how to pull that question. What's the biggest weakness and biggest?
You could just who had the better answer. You can have say Harris, Champ.
You listen. We all know who the crowd favorite's going to be. Listen, we all know who is going to win that. Oh, dude, I only did a minute. Oh well. It's only. We'll move on to the next team. Yeah, I only did 1 minute.
You also spelled your name wrong.
Oh my god.
Dude, you have the grammar skills of a freaking first grader, bro.
I didn't reread it.
See,
you don't reread anything you do. How many times did they tell you to read your work?
Man.
Bruh.
Down bad.
Joe, how many times do I tell him to reread his work? How many times?
Bad. We're playing with Kaham.
Okay. All right, listen, let's move on to the Hawks, please, because, listen, we already know who the chat's going to go with by a landslide.
I mean, I wonder why now. You kind of just gave it to him.
Come on, you got to vote for Kahamp.
Kahamp's not even here. Who's Kahamp?
Kahamp can't sit with us.
Love the Mean Girls reference.
I hate
That's
this.
2 in 2 weeks, by the way, y'all. That's 2 in 2 weeks. It's going to be a thing. All right, moving on to Hawks Talon GC. Of course, they just had their media day. You saw them. Of course, you saw young C's Breezy over there with the blonde hair. You saw their lovely layout. You saw their great draft that they did. Because, of course, we know that they drafted C's 11th overall. Big shout out to our guy, Matt. Where the hell are you? We miss you. Come back to us.
What happened to him?
I don't know. He hasn't answered a DM or text in over a week.
It's cool. I get it. I understand how it goes. But getting back to it, though, guys. We have this Hawks Talon lineup of BP, of C's, Mike Swan, of Fakey. Shout out to Big Lotto. We have Lee and Kel Math. All right, we're going to have to ask this question because, of course, this is going to be a question that's going to go on until the real season starts. We get to see what's going on. But do you feel that STEEZO was the right move for the Hawks with the 11th overall pick? Champ, you go first.
I mean, I understand what direction this team is trying to go in. I get it. But my biggest issue is, you have not, like, it's kind of like in the NFL when you draft a quarterback in the first round when you already have a starting quarterback, right? You got BP and C's. Okay, like, people are assuming that okay, maybe they can coexist, but you forget about Kel Mav. Kel Mav did, like I said, I obviously I have a partial opinion about it, but he did have statistically a very good year, last year at the shooting guard position. The team went 7-9, and it's like the guy that they're trying to, basically give a lesson or teach a lesson to, BP. Kind of putting fire under him with C's, you're making Kel Mav suffer. Because Kel Mav's going to probably, in my opinion, obviously this answers the next question, but I think it's very likely that Kel Mav is going to go on the bench and it's going to be C's and BP. You're not going to put C's on the bench, and I don't think you're going to put BP on the bench. So it's really leaves you in this dilemma to where it's like, ultimately, yeah, you want to, kind of plan for the future, maybe you want to put some fire under BP, but essentially I feel like it's going to do the opposite. And if anything, it's just BP, C's is just going to go at the two guard position, and yeah, they might be slightly better, but I just feel like I don't like the situation with Kel Mav, because he doesn't deserve to be put, placed on the bench for what he did last year. So I think it was a wrong move. I think I think that you should have just tried to build off of what you did last year. I feel like you're not believing in your system. You retain these players, and that's your plan, right? You're buying into something, and when you get C's, it's like, oh, but let's get insurance just in case. You know what I mean? Like, you're not believing in the team. So I feel like you're saying, oh, we're not sailing off yet with BP, but there's a possibility. It doesn't matter whether you put C's and BP in the lineup, you're still putting that possibility in their minds, and someone's going to have to be moved. Kel Mav, I don't think, should be on the bench. He's not a bench player. He should be a starter somewhere. So it leaves so many questions, and I feel like this team is going to have a lot of issues, in my opinion. But I think that was the wrong move to get C's for this team. I think C's could have been great for a lot of teams, but it puts a weird dilemma on this team, in my opinion.
All right. And Harris?
No, it's funny. I don't agree with a lot of the things that Coach West has done with this team. And it's ironic because the biggest move that he's ever made for this team is one that I agree with wholeheartedly. The more I think about it, I think that C's might be one of the 3 best moves that any team has made this entire offseason. Mostly because this team is no longer held hostage by one person. Which, if you paid attention to the Hawks last year, you know what happened. They were held hostage by what was going on with BP's head at that time. And look, this is a team that hasn't made the playoffs either year. In a league where expansion teams have been able to make the playoffs pretty quickly after their inception into the league. And if you're this team, look, I won't lie. It sucks for Kel. All right, it does. It's an L for Kel. I'm sorry, but it's professional. We're talking pro gaming here. Okay, sucks to suck. Get better. I hope he goes to a team that actually uses him. Whatever. But if you're talking about needing a guy who's going to A, get the most out of BP, B, give you an actual chance if BP decides to have either a bad year or emotionally or mentally isn't all there. C's, by a matter of fact, gives this team this year and every single year from here on out a better chance to win games. That's it. Straight up, 100%, no question about it. C's in every single game that he will play in as a member of the Hawks gives them a better chance to win that game. Therefore, it was the right move. It doesn't matter how good BP and Kel were last year. BP and Kel were good last year. The team still went 7-9 and missed the playoffs. This year, BP and Kel could still be good, and the whole team could miss the playoffs. But what SIGS is going to give them that they didn't have that year is the guy that can get you to the next level. Because we already know what BP's ceiling is as a player, in my opinion. We already know what Kel's ceiling is as a player. But if SIGS comes in and is like a 20-plus point per game scorer at the shooting guard position, and they actually figure out this dual ball handler thing, this could be one of the most surprising teams in the entire league if their defense holds up, which based off the back end, which based off their front court, it very much seems like their defense is going to hold up. What this team was missing last year was that guy to get them to the next level. Where are we going to find, mathematically, let's just talk math. Last year, Hawks Talon scored 66.5 points per game. Where's that extra 3 to 4 points per game coming from that's going to get you up to 70? Where is that extra oomph in field goal percentage and 3-point percentage going to come from to get you from 7-9 to 10-6? Where is that going to come from?
Can I ask a question?
That is going to come from superior talent. Screw your team's feelings. Sometimes, if you've never won anything in the league, I'm sorry, I'm going to say this nicely, I'm sorry, this is a family, fuck chemistry, okay? Chemistry matters when you're winning shit, okay? Chemistry doesn't matter when you go 4-12 and 7-9 your first 2 years as an organization. Fuck chemistry. We need to win games. That is the goal of this team. And not to mention, the Hawks are going to be in the Eastern Conference this year, most likely the conference that everybody deems is weaker. The most important thing that this Hawks talent team needed to do is pack as much talent onto this team as humanly possible, and they did that. Great move.
Mm-hmm. Champ, Mike.
I mean, listen, I have to say
Mike.
that.
Mike. Say it to
So my mic was echoing again?
Yeah.
I don't know why it's doing that. I really don't.
Yeah, let us know if it's better.
He's fine on Twitter.
Area. I'm listening to the, or maybe it's just me. But Champ, please.
All right, sorry. I was trying to figure out this mic situation and why it's doing that. But listen, my biggest thing is that when it comes to this team, they could have got a different piece. They could have got someone besides STEEZO. I mean, at pick 11, there was a lot of people they probably could have got. I mean,
that's the other thing. Who's a better draft pick for them at 11?
Was there not
Based
a better
on who else they got in this?
I'm trying to think of lockdowns out there. There's not a better lockdown they could have gotten out there?
Hex. They could have brought Styles back.
Styles is the next.
But they already said that they weren't going to bring Styles back. Why would they redraft him after not retaining him?
Especially when they could have, picked him for that second round pick.
Like all this team needed, really, because Fakey was clearly the plan for the Hawks, like almost the entire time. I mean, connected to this Hawks team since like.
Sorry, 1 second.
Oh, they can't hear me at all? That's upsetting.
My microphone.
Well, Joe's been hearing my points. Yeah. They've been incredible.
Look. I know we see the curly fro, but we're going to have to squish the ego below it, okay?
Yeah. Champ muting Harris because he's losing exactly. Bingo.
Listen, I'm trying to figure out why he's coming through my microphone right here. I don't understand why. I don't know if it's just my headphones are too loud. I don't know. But
being realistic, so as far as locks that were taken off the board after SIGS, we have Trap that was taken at 15, Lottie that was taken at 18, and then we can move over and we'd have a Mr. Styles at 27 to the Mavs. So there were a couple locks in that first round, but again,
who you just listed there out of those people has a legitimate chance of putting the Hawks over the edge or get them over the hump? None of them do. They're locks that'll be good in the league, but nothing overly special where you're passing on this guy and you're like, damn, I can't believe we passed on this guy. But SIGS, we all know the potential that SIGS has. If he gets 90% of that potential, you've drafted maybe the best guard in this class. And let's say that BP just sucks this year, man. Like, what happens if BP sucks? If BP sucks this year, they now have a secondary option that can save their season. If they don't have SIGS on this roster and BP is bad, they're done. The season is over. Zippo, L, done. This, in my actual option, or in my opinion, was actually their only option. It wasn't just a right move. It was their only move. Because if they don't do this, they've cornered themselves into such a horrific roster management spot where they are entirely reliant on one singular kind of volatile dude that you don't know what you're going to get out of on a week-to-week basis. It was their only move.
And Champ, final thoughts before I make a decision?
I mean, listen, I think that I totally understand like the situation with BP. Like, yeah, what if BP was bad? What if that? We have a lot of what ifs. But the thing is, the what really happened last year? Yeah, they went 7-9 last year. BP has been in playoffs before. BP doesn't have a terrible resume. It was unfortunate what happened last year, but again, a lot of teams blame COVID. So why can't they blame COVID? Like, you know what I mean? Like, a lot of people use that cop out of COVID. So why can't it be COVID? Like, why does it have to be like, okay, basically, I feel like this move is like them prepping to move on from BP possibly. And obviously, we heard a lot of rumors in the offseason that this team basically was trying to trade BP and no one would bite on the bait. So, that is known. Whether people want to admit that or not, behind closed doors, a lot of people know that this team was trying to trade BP. It wasn't the idea that, oh, yeah, we're going to have STEEZO and BP. No, the idea is STEEZO is BP. You know what I mean? That is known. We can't get away from that. So, in my opinion, yeah, I like the idea. Can this pan out to be really good? Yes, BP and STEEZO could be great. But, we've seen teams try to run the two-guard system, and it's definitely been a struggle for some teams because someone's going to need the ball more than the other person, in my opinion. So, in my opinion, like I said, I like the idea that, you have this security blanket in case for STEEZO. I like the idea. But the thing is, this team has to be good early on. If this team has any type of, hang on, I actually want to read West's comment. Champ, them rumors. How about that? Well, I mean, rumors have a little truth to it. I think everything that's a rumor has some type of truth to it. I don't think it's completely true, but I think that there's always truth to something, and I definitely think that you were trying to trade BP in this offseason, and I think that is true. But again, that's not the whole point of this. The whole point is STEEZO the right move? I don't think it was. I think that you should have gone with something that's going to build upon that 7-9 season. I feel like you're giving up on the...
All right, and that is
that's my last point, Joe. My last point.
Yeah.
Who are you taking instead? That is objectively better than STEEZO at 11. The other hard part about this that I think we're ignoring, they had the 11th overall pick and didn't need a starting point guard or a starting center.
They had 11, and
so they couldn't trade that away.
Were already gone. So, yeah, they could have traded it and gotten a worse player in a future pick, yippee, or I can just take the best player available on my board and say, fuck it, I'll figure it out later.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, we'll give you this final thought so you can give your idea, and then we'll come to a decision and move on.
See typing.
Yeah, I'm literally typing it right now. Sorry, I'm typing the poll out right now. Joe, you can move on to the next question. I'll type out the poll. I'll type it out in the poll. I'll let them decide.
Oh, the poll. Joe, your voting powers have been taken away.
So no. I'm the captain. I'm the captain for this.
So who gets this point?
No. Look, let's be quite honest. Champ, you're down bad, bro. Because you forget about these points here. So, one, BP, this team was 3-1 before everything happened. The man broke his hand, all of that. Yeah, they had a solid backcourt, but they didn't practice. They didn't do things. There were just things going on behind the scenes that really impacted this team, and they still wound up at 7-9. So now you not only bring in somebody who can be a phenomenal insurance policy that can take over as a starting point guard, you also bring in somebody. Just think about it this way. Remember when the Green Bay Packers drafted a quarterback in the first round, and Aaron Rodgers was like, oh, you want to draft the quarterback in the first round? And Aaron Rodgers came out with the MVP performance, esque performance. I look at it this way. The biggest thing for BP is that motivation. For a player like him who has such high talent, who has all of this stuff going for him, it's just a motivation for him to know that, hey, you have everything at your hands. The ball's in your court. If you don't want to play for this, we have somebody who's going to play for you. You're not going to be like, all right, we're not doing this. Oh, I'm dealing with this stuff. They don't have to worry about that. Now that if whatever works, all right, STEEZ has a solid season. You can flip him for picks because BP's the better option. Or, BP's, all right, he's shown value that you can trade him for something. You have that. Same thing with Kel. You have options. So Harris said, you're not held for ransom. I also believe, and you guys forget, that STEEZ played 2-guard for 630, a decent amount this pre-draft.
Yeah, he did.
So STEEZ can play the 2-guard position. While, yes, we're more likely, and we love to see him at that point guard position, he can play the off-ball role. He still has a great ability to score, as well as has a phenomenal passing vision. He can play both. STEEZ isn't that type of person. While he wants to be the guy, he doesn't have to be. I think that you were right about the Kel thing. It's unfortunate, but I think for what this team wants, STEEZ probably brings more, and I would love to see that training camp battle that's going to go in. But I feel like at 11, that's the perfect kick in the ass for BP, because at the end of the day, for somebody who has all the talent and doesn't want to work for it, the biggest thing you need is motivation. Somebody who's like, hey, I can take your spot. Everything is not granted. You can do this. So I think that was a phenomenal pick at 11.
Can I ask a question, Joe? So when I look at most rosters, there's a reason why they don't draft the PG at 6-man, right? Because most PGs don't want to be challenged at the point guard position, right?
Most PGs you're drafting as 6-men aren't as good as STEEZ.
So the thing is, you could have drafted Fan as a 6-man, but no one drafted him because they didn't want that.
But Champ, like,
that's not going to motivate BP.
But look at the rest of their draft picks too, man. Like, they were able to get a starting caliber lock and Swan in the 3rd round. They were able to get one of the best power forwards in the draft in Fakey in the second round. So considering the rest of their draft, like, who are you taking at 11 who are you taking at 11 that is going to make a bigger impact on this team winning games? I don't care if BP is upset. I don't care if Kel's upset. I don't really care about the chemistry of this team. I need to win games. How is STEEZ not the pick?
I mean,
I need to win
right now in the chat. Games. At the end of the day, this is a professional league. So that if you're doing something, the Hawks gave up a lot to get BP. The Hawks, they did a lot, brought in Kel Mav, etc. But at the end of the day, if you're not doing what we need you to do, if you're not buying into the culture, if you're not being able to be coached, if you're not, to be quite honest, West is doing a great thing of giving him another chance.
This is the best decision that Wes has made so far. And his first best decision was accepting this job. His second best decision was drafting STEEZ at 11.
Third best decision was coming up with that Talon takeover. Because
yes, agreed. Actually, no, I take that back. Talon takeover was definitely number 2. STEEZ was number 3. Talon takeover is fantastic. And back to the chemistry thing, like before, like I do stand by it. Like, look, chemistry matters when you're the Wizards, man, and you're trying to win a title. Okay, chemistry matters to a Raptors team that is on their way to going 16-0. But if I haven't even been above 500 through 2 seasons, screw chemistry. I'm getting as much talent onto this team as humanly possible. Let's win some goddamn games. Like, let's get some winning in here. Let's get some tournament money in here. Like when does chemistry stop mattering and winning does? If you have too many friends on the same team, you're probably going to get lazy and complacent anyway. This team, season 11 is a signal that this team is trying to win games now. They're not trying to take some lock that might be good next year. They're not trying to take some center project that might be able to replace Lee someday. They took a guy who is their present and future. It's the only pick. It was the only pick.
So moving on, because we gave Harris that point there. We're going to move on to the second question because, of course, there's no BFW Live tonight, everyone. As you can all see, that it's 9 o'clock and we're still doing this thing. Harris is here with us tonight. Champ's still here with us. I'm still here with us. We're going to be doing this for a little bit. We have one more team after this. But moving on to our next question. All right, so we talked about it. They drafted STEEZ at 11. As well as having BP and Kel Mav on this team. Who are you starting at point guard and shooting guard? So we'll give the ball this time around. I guess we'll give it to Champ. No, I didn't like that smile you're doing. You can just keep that. But Champ, ball is yours, man.
Okay. I mean, guys, I think we're all going to the same answer. It's going to be STEEZ and BP. I mean, you got to start the best players in the lineup. Obviously, yes, STEEZ has played alongside 630. Can he play the shooting guard position? Yes. will it be a power struggle? Possibly. It definitely can be a power struggle because if, SIGS does play better than BP, BP is struggling, there's a possibility that, maybe SIGS takes over the PG role. You know what I mean? The thing is, ultimately, these two will interchange. I mean, no one talks about the idea, what if BP goes to shooting guard? Everyone thinks about STEEZO shooting guard. What if BP goes to shooting guard? It's definitely a possibility. It's a weird thing to say, but no one's really talked about that. So, I mean, it's, I doubt it, but like I said, there's, no one, I think that if we were to go 6 months or 5 months ago and say that this was going to be this roster, I don't think anyone could have predicted this. I mean, obviously, coming closer to the draft, I know Harris mentioned some things about the possibility of them getting a PG at that 11th pick. I mean, yeah, but, leading up to the draft, no one expected it. And once it happened, it became a reality. So I think, in my opinion, anything's possible, but it's definitely probably going to be BP and SIGS. BP at the point guard, SIGS at the shooting guard. But it wouldn't be far-fetched to think of the idea that maybe there's a possibility in some world where SIGS can be the PG as well. So I'm going to go with those two. Unfortunately, I think it sucks that Kel Mav's on the bench, but, I guess that's how the professional league will go. But, yeah, I think that's the best, I can look at it, though, with those two.
I'm going to also say BP at point guard and STEEZO at the shooting guard, but I'm going to give better reasons than Champ did. This, to me, comes all down to what we were talking about with the Grizz and how important perimeter shooting is and how important three-point shooting is. And I think, we saw last year a Hawks team that was okay behind the arc, but a lot of the reasons that they were just okay behind the arc was because BP was just okay behind the arc. BP shot 42% from three last year. Okay number, except for the fact that he shot 317 threes last year, the most in the entire league. He shot so many threes. He lived up to my Twitter bio of shoot more threes. He literally did shoot more threes than anybody else in league history in one season. The SIGS pick at shooting guard is going to lower the amount of threes that he shot and raise his efficiency, while also giving the ball to SIGS, somebody who we saw all through pre-draft is a very good three-point shooter. His attempts will go up, his efficiency will go up, which will allow BP's attempts to go down and his overall efficiency to go up. So from an offensive standpoint and a simply how can we score points, it really is a great lineup because it's going to allow BP to have a bailout option that actually wants to shoot threes. One of the biggest criticisms, in my opinion, to Kel, and this may be an unfair criticism because maybe this was just the offensive game plan because BP was shooting so many threes last year, is that Kel last year was not focused on shooting the three ball. He just wasn't. I'm actually pretty sure he didn't even shoot 100 attempted threes last year, which for a Sharp is obscene. I mean, Chess didn't even play an entire season, and he had more than 100 attempted threes. Kel was very focused on getting to the rim and getting easy buckets around the rim and being a high efficiency around the rim Sharp, which is fine. I mean, it was a lot like DeMar DeRozan. It's very effective if done well. And the Hawks offensively from their guard spots were very good last year. It's just that nobody else on the fucking team last year could score. This year will be a lot different for this Hawks team. BP can shoot the three ball. SIGS can shoot the three ball. Swan can shoot the three ball. Hopefully they can turn Fakey into somebody who can shoot the three ball. So SIGS, what he's going to do is improve the efficiency of this team from beyond the arc, which is absolutely
thanks for the sub,
100% the most important thing for every single damn team in the league this year is to make sure that your three-point shooting efficiency is better this year. And SIGS is definitely going to help them in that path.
I agree. I also believe that it's going to help limit the amount of turnovers that BP will have as well. Because, of course, knowing that Kelmav, of course, is not the same type of option that's going to be with BP. So a lot of teams last year, they would focus on BP, pushing him, pinching him, etc. He took the ball over a decent amount last year. I think that having somebody like SIGS who can take the pressure off, where it's like, all right, you have to pick your poison, is going to really allow this team to be better. Again, I think you both are correct with you have to have, of course, it's BP and SIGS. It's their job to lose. It's going to be a battle. We'll see who comes out best. But again, you're both there. We can't really award you guys points for all of that, unfortunately. But I do have to agree with both of your points and everything that you were going with that. But we're going to move because, Phenom, that's what we do. We just cut him off. It ain't nothing to cut him off.
Hey, I do want to fix the audio real quick. I want to test something.
Over under. Do you think that this Hawks Talon roster will have more or less than 7 wins?
Oh, so
hang on. Give me a second.
So hard.
Yeah, give me a second real quick, guys.
While you're taking that second, we'll get the floor to
No,
Harris.
I'm trying to fix the audio. I'm trying to see if it's correct. That's why, because I think I figured out what was wrong. So I want to see if this works. Just give me 1 second. I'm sorry.
While you're talking about that, SIGS says that STEEZO doesn't play PG.
All right, hang on. They can't hear you. They can't. Hang on. I was trying to fix it. Yeah.
The audio. Or your desktop audio.
Yeah, but it's going through my mic and my desktop audio for some reason. I don't know why.
And ladies and gentlemen,
Is that better? That should work now. Okay.
sounds better to me.
Sounds better.
And ladies and gentlemen, if you're a producer and your talent is being in the truck and handling a lot of the production responsibilities, I believe ESGN 2K is looking for one. So please send ESGN 2K a DM on Twitter or DM Champ and say, please let me do this for you so we don't have to sit through this bullshit anymore. Joking. But
Anyway.
But getting back to it. More or less than 7 wins. Harris, we'll give it to you.
Just respond quickly to say I agree.
Great.
We will see SIGS at point guard at some point this season, but the opening day PG almost has to be BP. You have to give BP a chance to lose the job, if that makes sense, right? Like it's like how Ryan Fitzpatrick was the starting quarterback for the Dolphins last year, and then they replaced him with Tua in the middle of the season. That's kind of what's going to be like for the Hawks this year. Like, if BP just isn't getting it done, they do have SIGS. But I think that SIGS, no matter what, will get starts at PG this year. Over under, will the Hawks have more or less than 7 wins? Man, this is so difficult. But I think you just have to look at the spectrum of the entire NBA 2K League this year. Like, let's just look at the prospective Eastern Conference, right? You're going to have the Raptors. You're going to have the Raptors. You're going to have the Wizards. You're going to have the Nets. You're likely going to have a revamped Heat team. There's rumors that Gen G is going to be in that conference as well. So you're already at 5 teams that might be better than this Hawks team. On top of it, you have a Hornets team coming off a playoff run, a Nets team coming off of a playoffs run, a Knicks team that looks primed for a potential bubble spot. To me, it's not that I don't think this team hasn't gotten better. I definitely think the Hawks have gotten better. I think the Hawks have actually, in terms of improvements of talent season over season, I think that they've done as good of a job roster building as you can in terms of collecting talent onto one roster. I think the issue is that every single other team in the league that was already better than them has gotten better. And I think that you're going to see that from a lot of teams who are trying to get better this year than last year, whether it's the Pistons or the Blazers or the Lakers or the Celtics. You have a lot of teams in this league that were already better than them that got a lot better themselves. And I think the Hawks are staring that in the face, that they themselves internally can look at their roster and be like, yeah, we're a better team now than we were at the start of season 3. But the problem is that they simply are not better than the other teams that they're going to be going up against. It's really that simple. And it's kind of unfortunate because I really like this team. I like the roster. I like how it fits together. I think that basketball-wise and from a 2K sense, it makes a whole lot of sense together. I think it sets up Lee to have a really improved season. I think it sets up Swan to have a good year. I think we're going to see that Fakey might have been the best power forward in this draft all along. But I just think that every other team in the league just simply got better. And we're already better than this team. And I think they're going to have less than the equivalent of 7 wins, whatever our schedule will be this year. Not because they aren't good, but just because everybody else is just better. And sometimes that's all it takes. It's like this is a really good example. Take the Steelers. Take the Steelers. How long have they been dominating the AFC North? But the problem is that the Ravens got better. The Browns got better. The Bengals got better. And all of a sudden, the Steelers, who were all hot shit the first half of the NFL season, start losing all these games inside their division, start losing their games to a lot of upstart AFC teams. All of a sudden, they're in the playoffs, and they're getting schwacked because every other team in their conference has simply gotten better faster. And that's what I think, unfortunately, is going to happen to this Hawks team this year.
Oh, you mean it wasn't Juju dancing on the?
No,
You know,
it wasn't Juju dancing. It was the fact that the Browns. Yeah, you know the vibe.
Yeah, I know.
And again, it is a shame because I like this Hawks roster.
Harris, I'm gonna have to cut you off.
Yeah, go for it.
No, you can keep ranting. Champ, your turn to start the ranting.
All right, this is what I'm going to say. Obviously, a lot of the people in Atlanta aren't a fan of me. Because
I wonder why.
Because they think that I just think they're going to be bad. I think that they are going to be a 6-10 or again 7-9 team, maybe 8-8 at best. I don't think this team is going to, they might fight. They might be one of those teams that makes it like 7-9, makes playoffs. I think we're going to see repeated results. Obviously there could be more games, but regardless, they're going to be under 500 in my opinion. I think that you have a lot of star talent. But the thing is, we've seen in sports that star talent doesn't always win games. You know what I mean? You could have all the talent in the world, but ultimately, this team has to be able to mesh and work together. And I don't know how well BP and C's are going to work together. You know what I mean? Like I said, we've seen 630 and C's, but we haven't seen BP and C's. It's going to be, there is a lot of question marks around that. We can't sit here and act like there's not going to be a lot of issues within this team. I think that, Fakey's going to be a really good defensive player. Swan, I've seen Swan's, he's been solid as a lockdown. I don't think that he was one of the best locks, but I think that he'll be good enough at lock. Lee's a very underrated center. He's someone that doesn't get enough credit for what he did last year. He did have pretty good numbers. He wasn't terrible. He doesn't get talked about a lot, but it's also he's probably because he's not on social media a lot and doesn't talk a lot. But he's not a bad player. But ultimately, I don't know how well seasoned BP are going to be. Again, with conferences and divisions, obviously it hasn't been announced, but it's going to be tough. And all the teams have really good rosters, and this team, I think a lot of teams have the questions answered, and now it's just living up to their expectations that they're already at. But this team, it's like there's so many question marks, right now. Yeah, like who is starting PG and shooting guard? Yeah, you could say C's and BP, but who's to say Kel Mav doesn't play really well in camp? You know what I mean? Like Kel Mav still should have a fighting chance. It shouldn't just be, coming day one of camp and he's automatically on the bench. It should be this alternation between scrims where Kel Mav's playing a game, then one of those guys are going on the bench. Like it needs to be this, Kel Mav needs to be getting reps. He needs a fair chance compared to everybody else. So to say over under, yeah, 100% under 7 wins. I don't think they're going to get over. I think the conference is too tough. I don't think they have enough. And I just don't think that they're quite I don't think the chemistry is going to be good with this team. I don't think that BP and C's are going to work well together. I think that BP is going to, I think that this team, there's a possibility that, there could be some, trades to go on. I don't know if they do have any more trade assets, but there's definitely going to be a lot of controversy between this team, in my opinion. And I think that it's going to be a lot of stuff that might not be public, but it's definitely going to be a lot of private controversy that these guys don't talk about because BP has had a lot of issues. Like, let's not act like he hasn't had a lot of issues, like, in the league. There's a lot of, there's been, problems, but internally, that whole situation with the Kings, that team was successful and they still ultimately traded him away. I think that BP is going to get traded away from this team. I think that it's going to happen. So yeah, 7 wins. Yeah, no, they're going to have less. I'm taking the under on that one.
Well, congratulations to the both of you because you both came to the same conclusion. So we can't really give away a point if you guys keep going the same answer. Yeah,
well, who made the better argument for why? Come on, debate judge Joe.
If we're gonna go that way, to be quite honest, you said look, I hate to do this. You were right, Harris, because they do have. It's just everybody else got better. It's a lot of talent here. Champ, you brought up a great thing there with. You're right. It is going to be a carousel in camp. They're going to figure it out. To be quite honest, I personally feel like it's going to be up to their defense. And I'm not just talking about their defense on a Mike Swan level. I'm talking about their entire defense because they really have no defensive scheme. If we're watching them, they're running around like ants with their heads cut off and, chickens with their head, whatever, thing you want to go there. They weren't the greatest defensive team. They relied heavily on offense. And I personally think that if they got their defense right and if they're able to come up with that, they'll be a little bit better. But I do have to give this one to Harris. You brought up a lot more valuable points. Wow, that was really loud, Jim. We do have some people in the chat, including some league players such as Chess and Dawsix. Shout out to Grizz Gaming, saying that Kel Mav will start, and if they are, please at us when the season begins, or maybe
over Champ. Who?
Yeah, it's at me. But guys, there's a poll in the chat.
If they're benching BP week 1, I think that would be one of the biggest headlines of the year. If he's on the bench by like week 8, like all right, fine. They, maybe the team is iffy and they want to experiment for the future, right? But like BP on the bench to start the year, that would be huge nege. I'm not saying it's good or bad either way because we won't know because they could bench BP and go 5-0 to start the year, but just would be a huge move or huge news.
BP is on the bench to start the year. He's on another team by the next trade window.
Could probably believe that, yeah.
Yep.
But moving on to our final team of the night. Champ's favorite, HeatCheck Gaming.
HeatCheck Gaming.
So, of course, Famous is wheeling and dealing this offseason, and he's brought in a very talented roster, arguably the most talented roster that they've had since their inception, even with their finals run, with a roster that consists of Sav, Gooner, TB Shifty, Oh My Wan, Hotshot, and Deeds. Now, of course, this one's kind of easy, but we're just going to go with it. Do you feel that Famous finally has a true franchise point guard with Sav? Champ, please, floor is yours.
I do. I mean, I think everyone's going to say the same thing. Yeah, this is the best PG that he's ever had. The question's going to be, is it going to work with Hotshot? You know what I mean? Like, it's going to be, all the PGs so far that, they've had, like J Money, obviously he has played PG in the past and it didn't work out with him. We sit here and ask, why didn't it work? J Money just didn't play well with PG. You know what I mean? Like, who's to say that Sav won't come out and play bad? You know what I mean? Like, everyone has this high expectation. Yeah, he had a great season last year, but we still have to remember, like, J Money, he's had great off seasons at PG, but it just hasn't panned out. The only difference is one played well in the league and one played well outside the league. So, when I look at Sav, like the numbers he put up last year with the Lakers was very impressive. But, it does, I hope to see him actually play, well with good players. You know what I mean? Like, I've seen a lot of people in the league, who play really well with bad players. But when they go to play with good players, it does alter their game a little. So, when I look at Sav, I think Sav's going to be a guy, again, I think that he's going to have probably like 27 points per game. He's probably going to be around that 8 or 9 assists per game kind of year. Might be better, who knows? Obviously, he put up crazy numbers with a worse roster last year, but I have high expectations for Sav. I think that Sav is going to take this team to the playoffs. They're going to return them back to where they belong. I think they're going to be a very good tournament team. But yeah, Sav is the franchise PG that they needed. He's probably going to. They're probably going to be a 9-win team, 10-win team, in my opinion, when it comes to having Sav on this roster now.
All right. And Harris?
See, it's a funny question because the question is, does Famous finally have a true PG in Sav?
And tangents, but
the only answer is, duh. Obviously, Sav is a true point guard, as was Glenn last year, as was J Money the year before.
No, we're not saying true. We're talking franchise.
Oh, well, yeah. Absolutely. He's one of the most talented guards in the entire league. I think what's more valuable when it comes to this team than I think it was last year is just, I think focus will be really important for this team this year. I think this will be one of the teams. I mentioned before how chemistry doesn't matter. Fuck chemistry. Let's win some games, and like that's kind of where this team is at too. Like obviously, you always want to have as much chemistry as you can, but like, man, this is a team that made to the final season 1 and hasn't been to the playoffs in 2 straight years, right? Like this is not a team that is sitting around and worrying about how much all these guys get along. This is Sav going to win us games and help get us back to the playoffs. That's what a franchise point guard is. And the answer is unequivocally yes. There is a 100% chance that Sav is on this Heat team next year. There's no way this is a one-year audition for him. They are going to keep him on this team. He's probably going to be on Miami until he doesn't want to be anymore. That's how talented of a player he is. And, the only question about this team for me, and, we have a bunch of other questions to get to here. The only question on this team is really paint defense. Can Hotshot improve from what was probably his worst defensive season in season 3? What is Juan going to be able to do on the defensive end? I know he's a great scorer, but how is he going to be as a league defender? Shifty was a very good lock last year as an ISO defender, but in terms of team defense, the whole thing didn't really work out last year. So for me, the answer is definitely yes. Sav is 100% the franchise point guard of this team and will be for multiple seasons to come. But the real question on this team is he enough to make up if they have a bad defensive season again? Is he enough to get them to the playoffs even if they have another bad defensive year? That's really what's most important here, in my opinion.
Champ?
I mean, like I said, like with this one, it's definitely like there is one side to this. It's really about like why Sav is going to be, why Sav is like the best thing for them. Like what makes the Heat so much better with Sav? And it's really the fact that like they have a guy that has played point guard. There's guys that they've had on their roster that started point guard that never played PG in their a day in their life, and then they had guys that basically just didn't pan out to be good at PG. So I mean, Sav has shown in the league that he can go out there and he can be a bucket and he can also pass the ball. But yeah, like the thing is, the success for this team isn't driven on how well Sav is. It's really driven on all other ends of the ball. I mean, of the Heat. It's not even just their PG.
Okay. So, because I'm over here and I'm trying to tweet and do stuff to help get the stuff out here, and I'm kind of letting it slide, how we keep sliding off on tangents. Both of you. Can we just stick to the topic at hand?
I did answer the topic on hand.
Okay. Champ. Okay. All right. Like I said, does Famous finally have a true PG? Yes, he does have. He finally has a true PG. He has one of the top 10, maybe top 12 PGs in the league right now. So yes, he finally has a true PG.
So, this is franchise PG.
Yes, he has a franchise PG. This is the first time that they finally had a franchise PG that can finally, get them over that hump. So, yes, he finally has a franchise point guard.
Also, quick sidebar. Is he cutting out for you too, Harris, or is it just...
Yeah, a little bit in Discord, but I have Twitch open so I can hear.
Yeah, I do too. I'm just, trying to piece the pieces together. But, to be quite honest, you guys are both going with the same answer again. While I feel that
these are all very one-sided questions.
Yeah, it's just.
If
I'm not awarding points though. We have the facts. We have everything. This could be too easy. We're gonna move on to the next one. Can Gunnar redeem himself? And I don't even like the way this is. So we're gonna just call it audible. Omaha. Second time's a charm for Gunnar. He had a very tumultuous season 1, which was up and down. He was not back in the season, the league for the next 2 seasons. He's back in for season 4. Do you believe that Gunnar now at the 2-guard position can redeem himself in the face of the fans? And what does his success and his redemption story mean for the future of international prospects? So, Harris, we'll give the question to you first.
I think what's so troubling about this question in general is that we're literally putting it all on Gunnar and Mario to succeed. And if they don't, then it is some sort of referendum on all future international players to come. And it's funny because this happens in basketball too, in normal basketball too. Dragon Bender fails, so we instantly assume that Kristaps Porzingis is going to fail. Somebody, international players come into the league all the time. They don't do all that well. Ricky Rubio isn't all he's hyped up to be. And all of a sudden we think that Luka Doncic is going to suck. The issue that I have with this in general is that it doesn't matter what Gunnar does in terms of future international players. if we are still in the mindset internally with general managers and coaches and scouts that because previous international players have failed, that says that future international players are going to fail, then we need to fire every single GM in this league for not doing their job. Each individual international player is their own international player. It doesn't matter where they come from. It doesn't matter what version of 2K they're playing. You need to scout every single individual international player as if they are their own individual player, which they are. Now, I think Gunnar is definitely going to redeem himself this year. He is in the perfect situation. He proved this year that he is probably one of the best sharps in the entire world of 2K. But I hate this concept. I hate this idea that we need Gunnar and Mario to succeed to get future international players into the league. If that's truly the case, that's really the case, that we need Mario and Gunnar to be good, or we're not having international players in this league anymore, then fire all the GMs because they're not doing their job. Straight up, they're not. If you were telling me that if Gunnar has a second bad shot in the league, and that means that Aaron from Turkey is also going to be bad in the league just because Gunnar wasn't good, I'm never listening to another opinion that you have. Because you instantly have just shown me that you don't do the work and that you don't want to find an international player who is going to be good in the league. Because they will exist. We just need to separate current guys from future guys because current precedent doesn't set future precedent. It's a logical fallacy. It's a statistical improbability that just because something is happening now, that is going to continue happening forever. It's a terrible concept. And honestly, like I'm happy we're talking about the topic. I think it is one of the most unhealthy concepts we have in the league right now. That if international players don't succeed right now, that they don't deserve to be in the league in the future. I think it's incredibly unhealthy.
Oh, sorry, champ.
Listen, I think that obviously it's very hard to redeem yourself, because Gunnar was in a point guard position which has more opportunity, and obviously the lights are more on that position. Obviously, last night I was in Famous' stream, and he was talking about the story about Gunnar's situation. When Gunnar came into the Pacers, he had no camp. He literally got off his flight. I kid you not. This was crazy. I didn't actually know all about this until last night when kind of Famous was talking about it. Gunnar got off his flight. And literally, he had all his stuff from home, right? He just got into America and was in New York City, and he literally, he sat out the first game, but he literally had all his stuff with him and walked in to play the second game, never playing with this team before, right? You know what I mean? So it's Gunnar had such a hard obstacle in season one, so it's you feel for him. You look at his situation. There's a lot more to it that we probably don't know. And yeah, can Gunnar redeem himself? Yes, but it's going to be hard to get over that stigma because all I heard from players, and people won't say that, maybe some people won't say this publicly, but a lot of players, yeah, they think that international players aren't that good. They think that there's just no talent over there. There are a lot of players that say that privately. They won't say that publicly, but they like I said, privately they just don't think that there's good talent. And a lot of that is due to how Gunnar performed, because everyone made Gunnar put out as LeBron James, the international LeBron James. That's who he was. They looked at him as one of the best guys coming from the international scene, and he didn't live up to that expectation. And it literally skyrocketed the idea. And once we started seeing this, it kind of created this. It did create this stigma around these guys. I want that to change, and I think that this is a great opportunity with this Heat team. I mean, he has a great roster around him. There's no excuse why Gunnar shouldn't succeed. He's already in market, which is great. And I think that Gunnar, his success, yeah. Whether we want to admit it or not, maybe from the PR standpoint or the league standpoint, yeah, they don't care, how well Gunnar plays. That doesn't deem the future for other players. But from personal player, visual or their thoughts on international players, yeah, they do look at Gunnar and Mario and they do care about how well they succeed, because it will give them an idea. Maybe we should draft these guys. And I know that sounds crazy. Yes, I do. Yeah, it's lazy. You the people who are in the leadership positions, the scouts, the managers, the GMs, yeah, they shouldn't they should be doing their homework. And Famous said, yeah, there are a lot of talent, and a lot of people say it is the visa situation, but I don't think that's 100% true when it comes to the players. I don't believe that. I do understand, yeah, yes, it's true. The visa situation is an issue. And yes, that's definitely something that's hard to get over. But I think that's an excuse. I really do think that's an excuse. I don't think that, like, regardless, you can draft that guy as your sixth man. You know what I mean? You can draft international. There's no reason why you can't draft, international players as your sixth man or the last man on your roster. There's no reason for that. And Gunnar even brought up, like, yes, he says that the visa situation is the same as it is for Canada, even though, yes, that's not 100% true. But it is, in essence, like, yeah, they still have to come from, they still have to get a visa to come into America. Are certain places easier to get a visa to get into America? Yes, like, there are certain places it is easier to get a visa quickly and, to get here. But again, I do kind of like feel like that idea of like, oh yeah, sorry, we can't take you because we don't want to wait these extra couple weeks to have you in market. Like, I kind of feel like there's a little, I don't know. I feel like it's a little bullcrap in my opinion. I feel like there's no reason why we shouldn't have more than, because, like, how many international players do we have in the league right now? 2, 3? 3? I don't, like I said, we should have way more than that. This is not the United States NBA 2K League. This is the worldwide NBA 2K League. There's no reason why we shouldn't have at least, like, almost 10 international players in the league at this point, in my opinion.
Well, okay, so if you guys want to go this way, let's be quite honest. The reason why we might not have as many international prospects in the league is, one, the lack of teams, because of course we don't have the space to house a lot of people. If we had more teams, we'd probably have more international prospects. 2, the fact that half the world is still playing on current gen. If we're looking at FIBA and looking at a lot of stuff going on, a lot of people are still playing on current gen. So a lot of people don't have access to next gen consoles to play next gen, to be able to show their skills and show that, hey, I'm a legitimate prospect. Also, we have to look at levels. Yeah, we look at USA players or Canadian players because they play against each other consistently. And a lot of the top players in the world are from either the USA or Canada. So obviously, if you're able to play against the best, if you're able to play against the pros and beat the pros, you're probably good. Unfortunately, over in the EU, Spain, and APAC regions, all of those places, they don't have as many pros. They don't have that top tier talent that is consistently played against. So, while it might not be a way for them to refine their skills against playing against top competition every day, like we here in the US and Canada have the option, I believe also just the fact of they don't have that means. It's not like, okay, especially during COVID times, it's not like we can have this big LAN event where we can have some of the best teams out here and playing against each other and doing all this stuff where they can show, hey, we are just as good as these players over here. We just don't have the shot. I think those are the factors that play into it. I think that, as far as going for the success, because we're all in agreement with that. Like, the narrative is BS because it's with everything. I've said it before that, okay, if a player from New York sucks, it's not like, okay, we're not going to draft players from New York anymore. Or, this person on Xbox sucks, we're not going to draft Xbox players.
Is it a numbers thing, Joe? Like, well, if 2 international players are good, but 3 have sucked, that means all international players suck? Like, to me, if you think that all international players are bad because a couple haven't performed up to their level in the league, all that tells me is that you don't actually know what you're looking for in talent. Because let me tell you, the international players that we have that aren't in the league, there are a lot of fantastic ones, man. Aaron's fantastic. Willis Jordy should probably be in the league right now. Go Crazy is the best player in an entire country. He can barely even get in he can barely get through the international process because of how strict the league rules are. Like, Pato at center, they're all over the place. But the problem is they were like, oh, this 3rd round pick that the Pacers had in year 1 didn't instantly succeed at point guard. That means that they all suck. Oh, this Australian dude that was, wildly jet lagged for most of his season with the Pistons. Oh, he wasn't great. That means all Australian players suck. Like what are we doing here? At some point, we need to judge players individually by their talent, not the country that they come from.
And I mean, again, this is something we've all been in agreement with throughout this whole conversation here. Now, again, let's just break it down then, because we're all agreeing it's kind of BS, not a debate show. Do you feel that, and we're going to switch this up, because, yeah, we agree that Gunnar can redeem himself. Do you feel that Gunnar being back will play at in all 2K League level? Let's switch that to that conversation.
Ooh. I'll answer this one. I think Gunnar is going to walk in and be one of the 7 to 8 best sharps in the entire league. I think that's the level of talent that he has. And I think it bothers me that people don't recognize how good of an individual player he was through the entire pre-draft process. Because I think our community looks at his name and recognizes his name, but without realizing that what he did in the offseason was truly special. I mean, the dude moved positions. He was playing point guard for most of his chances trying to get back into the league, changes to sharp full-time, instantly becomes one of the best shooters in all of 2K, then comes to the combine and is just straight dominating people as a sharp. I mean, the dude was a dual ball handler. The dude was killing it on catch and shoot. He was killing it out the corner. He was killing it as a bailout option. Like, for anybody that legitimately scouted Gunnar as a sharp, recognized just the unbelievable ceiling that he has as a shooter. You know, I love it. My favorite kinds of sharps are guys that were previously point guards, because they understand what their sharp needs to be for their point guard. They can play the role that they've always wanted to play that they wanted their sharp to play for them when they were a point guard. Gunnar is going to come in and be, in my opinion, the best sharp that Sav has ever played next to, because he's going to know exactly the kind of player that Sav is going to want. He's going to be able to perform at that high of a level, but he has this special thing that a lot of our sharp prospects didn't have this year. Gunnar has this extra heat check level. I'm not saying that because he's on the Heat. He has that extra level that he can go to, where all of a sudden his 12 points per game in the third quarter, all of a sudden it becomes 23 points per game. He's just dropped 11 points on you an entire quarter, and you're all of a sudden down 7. He has this extra level that he can hit as a shooter that very few sharps had in this draft class. So just watch it this year. He has this extra level that he hits that not a lot of other guys can hit, and he is going to single-handedly win the Heat a bunch of games just off of this level that he can hit. I think he's going to be one of the best sharps in the entire league, period.
Can he be at an all 2K level, is what you're asking? Can he be like one of the best in the league? I'm going to say no. I think that he'll definitely be a middle tier guy. I think Gunnar is good, but he's not like, if we're saying all 2K level, like we're basically putting him in that category, probably like top 5. We're putting him in the top 5 category, maybe top 3. That's what I consider when we say all 2K level. Like basically like you know, he's considered for like an all rookie team or an all, you know, obviously not rookie team, but like all-star team. Okay, he's considered for an all-star team, basically. I think that he'll be good. Obviously, he's proven to us, like, I've watched him in the offseason. This guy is playing on delay. You know, I think it was a Bucks tournament where they won that. Is that the tournament they won to get into the draft, to become draft eligible? I remember watching, Gunnar. I remember watching Gunnar, Jordy, Mario, and all those guys playing, and I mean, I'll be honest with you, like the fact that like those guys are greening on delay, I mean, that's crazy. You know what I mean? Like they are literally delayed and greening shots. You know what I mean? Like that is just that's mind-boggling. Like these guys, I think the thing is like all these years of struggles for the international players, I think have made them better, and they're going to be amazing talent once they all get in the league, because they've had to deal with the most bullcrap, and like they didn't have it easy, right? You know what I mean? They had to build up. They didn't give up. They kept playing in the in this, like they don't have a huge competitive scene. They're not having the opportunity to play against like the Ramos and Hot Shots every night, in retail. So in my opinion, I don't know if Gunnar can play an all 2K level. He'll definitely be in the middle. I think that he'll be above average when it comes to being at the shooting guard position. But yeah, I mean, I just don't think that he's going to reach that level, because I think that there's just already a lot of good sharps in the league. I think also, I just think that he's not going to have like the numbers like some of these shooting guards. So he'll definitely be maybe I can argue top 10. But I don't know about like top 5, top 3, in my opinion, for Gunnar as a shooting guard. I think that he can be one of the middle tier shooting guards in this league. I just don't think that I don't think he's going to get like the amount of opportunities, and I also think that Gunnar, again, like when I watched him in retail and I watched him in his games, yeah, like he was balling out in he balled out in the combine. I watched him in that Bucks tournament. That Bucks tournament, like I think that's the greatest testament to all international players on how well they played in that tournament. That's what was most impressive to me, in my opinion, for Gunnar and all those guys. And that's what shocked me when Welsh Jordy didn't get drafted, is the fact that, you know, like he was playing. I think he played better than Gunnar in this offseason, and he went undrafted. You know, so I mean, Gunnar, I'll put him in the middle. I think that I don't know about all 2K teams. I mean, all 2K level, whatever term we want to use for that. I don't think he'll be up there. I think he'll be top 10, but maybe not. I don't think top 5 or top 3.
Harris, your last
My rebuttaling?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, you want to talk about like the amount of opportunities that he's going to get. I think you just have to point to what Sav did last year. I mean, Sav loves getting other players on his team involved. And I think you're going to realize very quickly, if you watch Sav last year, and I don't know if he's still in here, maybe he can tell me privately about this. When I watched him, he just seemed like a dude that was so desperate for a 2-guard. He was so desperate for anybody at the 2-guard or any sort of sharp spot that could just make their own shot and score. He was so desperate for that kind of guy. And now he has the perfect example of that kind of guy in this year's draft. There are very few pure sharps in this year's draft who can get their own shot. And that's one thing that I love about Gunnar's game, that there are a lot of really good catch and shoot sharps in this class, okay? There are a lot of good off-ball dexers, okay? A lot of guys that are good off-ball. But dude, if there's 8 seconds left in the shot clock, we're talking about real scenarios here, right? There's 8 seconds left in the shot clock, okay? I'm locked up on the right hash. I need to get the ball to my sharp with 8 seconds left, and I need him to do something and get me a bucket, right? That's a lot of the times what a sharp's job is. There are few guys in the world who are as good at that as Gunnar. And I think you're going to see that very quickly. His skill set with the ball in his hands is so impressive that I do think he can play in an all 2K league level. I think there's a chance that Sav and Gunnar end up being one of the 3 to 5 best backcourts in the entire league this year. The more I've gone back and I've rewatched a lot of prospects. That's what I've been doing. I've been playing a lot of Call of Duty, playing a lot of MLB The Show, and going back and watching a lot of draft prospects. That's what I've been doing since the draft. I was way too low on Gunnar originally. I should have had Gunnar as one of my top 5 sharps in the draft class, bona fide, no questions asked. He was that good the entire process. And you go back and you watch his combine games. I can't, like... It was stupid how much better he was than almost every single other sharp that he was on the floor with at any time. He was the best guard on the floor in most games that he played with, let alone just sharp. So I think the potential is there, but I also agree with Champ. It's going to be hard because we already have A-Rooks, Malik, and Smooth, who probably will just get the 2 first and second team slots already. Gunnar could be the 4th best sharp in the league and not make an all 2K league team. Like it's just the nature of the beast, really.
We're also thinking that, you know, last year the guards taking CB13, you know, Kenny, then second team was what, Mama and Reg?
Yeah, so, like it's just, you know, it's unfair. Like there might not even be a sharp on the 2K league teams anyway. So I think he can play at that level. Like for instance, like, you know, in the NBA, you know, Jaylen Brown is playing at an all NBA level, but he's probably not going to make an all-NBA team this year, even though he deserves it, because there's so many guys at his position. It's the number 1 position in the NBA. It's the two-way wing. Like, how many two-way wings are going to get in ahead of Jaylen Brown? Probably 10, even though Jaylen Brown has been amazing this year. So the question's a little bit loaded. I think he can play up to that level, but I don't think he's going to make one of those teams.
Champ, final thoughts?
I mean, listen, I agree. That was my biggest thing on the point, was the fact that, like, we have such a strong, like, there's a lot of really good shooting guards in this league. And to be a part of that class of all, like, Gunnar, if Gunnar lives up to that, my God, like, if Gunnar was to become an all 2K level player, holy crap, man. Like, I'll be honest with you, every organization missed on him then. You know what I mean? Like, one thing that Famous said, that he felt like he was cheating the draft because, like, a lot of people weren't looking at international players, right? Because, obviously the visa situation, but there's just a lot of unknowns around there. You know what I mean? The idea that, yeah, we want a LAN event. We would love a LAN event. Trust me, I'm sure the NBA 2K League would love that. But obviously it takes, it's a lot more than just talking about it. It takes a lot of work to do that. So, I mean, hopefully one day we do get that opportunity where we get to see Ramo play against, international players over there. We get to, we take our, some of the best players in the 2K League and have them compete against these international players just to get an idea of where these guys really weigh, because it is hard to we look in other sports. All right, it is hard to scout players overseas because they're not playing they don't play in that March Madness tournament against some of the best NBA talent coming in, right? So it's hard to measure talent when they don't play against other good talent. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What's up?
I mean, to be quite honest, we can't really say that because the man was in the league. The man was a stage head before he even made the league. So the man, and even then, he's been playing on delay against top tier talent all pre-draft, all before. So he can play against them. The only thing, and again, because while you guys are kind of similar with he's good, but can he play? Yes. I know Harris was saying, yeah, it's just too many, and you're kind of similar. We have Beast Move, Malik, A-Rooks, Seam, Reese Mode, and Kai. Those are just 7. We have, of course, it's going to be I think, yes, he has a better opportunity in Miami to be a better, overall 2 guard. But I don't think that he will play at an all 2K League level only because there are only 4 spots technically for guards. And even if we give 2 spots to 2 shooting guards, you mean to tell me that he's going to play at such a level? We could even say Glitchy 25 to even give it a bigger spot. Do you really think that he would have that level, that skill level, that season, that he would make an all Glitchy 25 team?
No. I don't think. I mean, the question is, can Gunnar be in the Glitchy 25? Is that what the question really is? Would you essentially say that's what it is?
Yeah, I mean, because at this point it was all 2K, all 2K level.
No, I think that the Glitchy 25 is just. I mean, to say that Gunnar can anyone be a top 25 player in this league? Yes.
Yes.
But the thing is, for Gunnar. Yeah, I mean, anybody can be as long as you're friends with everybody.
And I'm gonna have to say, Harris gave a phenomenal, convincing argument. It was great on all of it. It's just being realistic, taking that step. Because in terms of the argument, yes, Harris definitely won that one. It was all over.
Great team on point.
But to be quite honest, in the full scope of it, can we really say that he can play at an all 2K League level when there's going to be so many other options? I don't think that he's going to, be able to play at that all 2K League level and be selected to an all 2K. Yes, he has the opportunity. I believe that he has the best fit, the best situation. So he has the potential. But I think that there are just too many others. And depending on what's going on with conferences, with whatever there, I just feel that each team has gotten, like we said before, each team has gotten so much better that there's talent everywhere. You mean to tell me that with the addition of Mama, that Seam's game's not going to increase? That with another year with Duck and hopefully getting them together, that Malik might be better? That A-Rooks, who is still a phenomenal 2-guard, is not going to continue to play at the same level? That, Beast Move, who goes from playing with somebody like Kina to playing with J Money, that he might not get better? Reese, that, you guys bashed Ohio being picked there. Doesn't that mean Reese is going to play better if Ohio sucks? Because he's going to have more efficient season and stuff like that. Reese Mode, somebody who's still there, he's still a phenomenal option. You're still going to have to go out to get,
This is why we need an all 2K League 3rd team.
I agree. I personally agree because there's just too much. But at the same time, that's 15 players.
It's not fair. It's kind of a tragic question in a lot of ways of asking whether or not Gunnar can play at an all 2K League level, because it's almost like he can play as well as he can possibly play, and there's still an 80% chance that somebody else is just better. Like or has a bigger name and gets voted on. Like it's kind
and
of.
we're not even talking point guards. We're just talking shooting guards. We're not even talking guards like as a whole because we throw in guards. It makes it very difficult. If you saw last year, like to be quite honest, I'm looking at the list right here. The only shooting guard that made the list was Timely Cook.
And Malik made the top 25 barely. He was number 25.
But like that's the glitchy 25 voted on by the fans, players, whatever. But as far as
I mean, he wasn't even a sharp. He just played the lock at the shooting guard spot.
So this is how it kind of looks at with the voting. It's an uphill battle for both of them. So while I think that he's a great talent, he has the potential. I really can't give it to him. It's just like you said, it's a loaded question. I definitely have to agree, but. So
I mean, again, it is really tough. There's a lot of great talent in the league, and it's until we see it, like it's really hard to judge, right? To get above those players, I mean, it really is hard to pass people. You know what I mean? Like it's hard for we have people that stay at the top, right? It's really hard to knock them off the top, right? It's hard to say that all right, B Smooth could have a down year and go down. You know what I mean? It's hard to say A Rooks can go down, right? You know what I mean? So because in order for players to go up, I think players have to go down. You know what I mean? Like A Rooks has to have a bad year for Gunnar to really go above him because A Rooks is great. You know what I mean? So unless A Rooks has a bad year, there's no way really. It's kind of hard for Gunnar to pass him. You know what I mean? It's hard for these guys to go over other guys. But again, we'll see this season. But we'll get to the last question and we'll get to the last segment of the night.
Yeah, because it's already 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
We're kind of going with it. But all right. So the last question. And actually, I kind of like this question. It's a pretty solid question. So, of course, the Heat after having, it's something to think about. We can really think about this. Perspective. After season 1 where they made the finals on the backs of Hotshot, they kind of struggled the past 2 years. Do you feel that if the Heat have another bad year, that it's time to move on from Hotshot? Harris, I see you shaking your head.
Hell no! What? The hell's this question? Hell no! You know what Famous told me one time I asked him if he would ever trade Hotshot? He said that the only way that Hotshot is ever going to leave Miami is if he's dead. That's the only way that Hotshot will leave Miami is if he literally dies. There is no way, and knock on wood, that doesn't happen, by the way. We did it at the same time. There is absolutely no way in hell, 0% chance that he ever trades Hotshot. Unless Hotshot, does some literal, crazy human being, I have snapped, put me in a mental hospital level stuff. That's the only way that he's being put out of Miami. But until he stops putting up wildly above average offensive numbers as a center and decent numbers as a defensive center and continues to be one of the most exciting and polarizing players in the entire league that not only makes them a perennial playoff threat, but also makes them a perennial title threat simply because he is on the goddamn team, there is 0.000% chance that HeatCheck Gaming will be trading Hotshot at the end of this season, regardless of how bad this team plays. They would trade every single other person on this team. They would trade away other people off of other teams before they would ever trade Hotshot off of their own team. So whatever cocky, weird response Champ might have to this, just know that it's already wrong because you let me go first and I had the ability to say, no, they aren't trading Hotshot. So Champ, I'd love to hear what you possibly have to say about why HeatCheck Gaming would trade Hotshot. Please, take it away. I'd love to hear it. I'd love to hear it. What do you got?
I have to play devil's advocate here.
There is no devil's advocate.
I have to play devil's advocate because you know what? We've been agreeing on way too much stuff. This has got to be a debate show. So listen, I'm gonna tell you something right now. Okay, we have gone 2 years back to back where this team has been bad. They have struggled. It does matter.
Doesn't matter.
Yes, we have heard Famous come publicly and say that he would never trade, ever. He would never trade Hotshot, right? Yep. You know what I mean? And I know that, I know Famous is sitting there. He's probably smirking right now. He's like, hell no, I would never trade this guy. But we saw Mama and Wanda get traded in this offseason. Okay? No. I don't care what you say.
You are literally using the argument I said before it does not apply. It's simply because something has happened in the future does not mean it's going to happen again.
Listen, I am telling you, anything is possible in this league. Anything is possible. Grizz Gaming won the championship in Season 1, okay? This league is all about the impossible, I swear. An expansion team wins the championship in Season 2, right? Yeah, this league is all about possibilities. Anything is possible, okay? So to say that they will not trade him unless he is literally like 6 feet under, no. This guy, I am telling you, there is a chance that this guy could be traded anytime.
There's no chance he gets traded at any time this year.
Okay. If let's say Adam Rubin sends Ramo for Hotshot, you think Famous is saying no to that? You think Famous is saying no to that? I don't think so. I think that he
says no.
He says
no.
He says no. Famous says no. If he has a deal on the table, Dave Fry's on the table. Any center, he's not taking that deal. Like if he switch it up.
He's extremely comfortable with Hotshot as a center because he knows how to communicate with Hotshot, and I think that they are connected on not saying like they're best friends or anything, but there's value to coaching the same player for multiple years instead of just randomly picking up a guy who might be more talented.
I understand the situation with relationships, right? You know what I mean? Like he's got like they have a built-up relationship.
I'm telling you, champ. Like this isn't even me like messing with you or like overplaying things, because I definitely have overplayed things to public before. I'm telling you this. There is no chance that Hotshot is ever traded from this team. I don't even think they would trade him if he requested a trade. I don't even think they would trade him if he publicly requested a trade. He would have to do something super messed up to get traded off of this team willingly.
All right. Well, of course, and we have Famous in chat also speaking, and of course, as the person who's in charge, that kind of speaks to all of that. It kind of makes the question mute. Which I get, I understand.
Sure.
So I'm gonna call it audible on this one. So
hang on. Can I ask a question? Can I ask a question? Harris, you're saying that he's gonna retire on the Heat. That's it. As simple as that. Hotshot will never wear another jersey in the 2K League ever. Okay, that's all I need. That's all I need. Go ahead, Jeff.
Why would Famous, an intense competitor, go out of his way to make another team better by trading Hotshot away?
Unless it made him better.
If he doesn't believe that there's a player that he could acquire that would make his team that much better.
So there's no player in the league that can make his team better over Hotshot?
I think there is any individual player in the league that Famous would trade Hotshot for.
So you mean even a Rio?
No.
Okay.
He wants Hotshot. Like at some point, guys. Look, I respect. There were quarterbacks that I'm not saying Famous is Bill Belichick. I'm not saying Hotshot is Tom Brady. There were definitely quarterbacks throughout Bill Belichick's tenure that were better than Tom Brady. I guarantee you to this day, he never, ever would have traded Tom Brady for any single one of them. He never would have traded Tom Brady for a younger Aaron Rodgers. He never would have traded Tom Brady for a younger Patrick Mahomes. He never would have traded the guy. Why? Because sometimes you just have your goddamn guy, and that's the guy you want to go to war with. They're not leaving. He's from Miami. Like, why would they trade him to another team? This is his hometown.
Yeah, look, dude, I get it. Again, just kind of mute. I completely get it. So how about this? We call an audible, and we'll do it this way. So, of course, the Heat retained Deeds this offseason, but also they had the opportunity to bring in Juan. Do you feel that there's any chance that in this training camp battle that Deeds will come out as a starter week 1?
No. Ooh, that's a great question. Week 1, no.
Okay. I first of all, Joe, that is a fantastic question. I'm actually going to add that one. That is a fantastic question. You can't hear me? Can you hear me?
Now we can.
Okay. Yeah. I was going to say that. First of all, I wanted to compliment and say that is a fantastic question. But to answer that question, no. I think that people need to understand, and I think Famous knows this himself, and I think Deeds is kind of accepting this. Deeds is going to, of course, play for a role, but I think even Deeds knows what Juan can do and how good he is as a player. it is unfortunate that he did. Like, I can't imagine. Like, obviously Jake was great, but like, I couldn't imagine if like Juan really like what they could have been with Juan. You know what I mean? If the relationship and everything would have worked out, maybe they could have been even better. Who knows? But Juan is a really good power forward. This guy, I mean. Famous, I watched the stream last night. This guy was cheating the draft. He basically planned it around like, okay, no one's going to draft Juan. I'll take Juan. You know what I mean? Like, so he was able to get Juan later on in the draft. Juan is better than, he honestly is better than most of the power forwards in this class. It's just not, like a lot of people like a lot of people behind closed doors know how good Juan is. It's just that there's just that red flag around him, right? So it was definitely hard to like, you know, go and take Juan, but Famous knows Juan. He knows what, you know, he's about. He knows a little more about the situation. So, I mean, yeah, I think that, yeah, is there a question, can Deeds get a straight spot? Yeah, but no. I think Juan's is far better. Deeds is a competitor. I'm sure he'll compete for the role, but I think he's accepting to that 6-man role. He's fine with where he's at. I don't think that it's like, you know, it's going to be a big battle. I think Juan is just, ultimately, he is he's just better at power forward, and he's a great overall player, man. So I mean, yeah, I think Juan's gonna keep that starting role.
I'm gonna can we instead of for week 1, because I think week 1 is a tough ask, because week 1 I think every single team is going to throw their most talented roster out there regardless of how fit works, right? So Joe, I say no.
By the end of the season,
I think there is definitely a chance that Deeds gets starts at power forward this season. Because, look, I think Juan is good talent-wise. But, like, let's hypothetically say that defensively the team is a disaster. Well, you're not going to bench Shifty. You're definitely not benching Hotshot. So the likely, I guess, you know, where the not culprit, what's the word I'm looking for here?
Odd man out,
you know, whatever, punching bag, whatever. Like, you know, the guy who's going to get blamed for it.
Scapegoat.
Would be Juan. Yeah, scapegoat. Thank you. Would be Juan. And if defensively the team is bad, Juan would probably be the scapegoat or be replaced by Deeds to shore up themselves defensively. Do I think that's going to happen? No. Do I think it could happen? Absolutely. It definitely could. I don't think it will. The Heat feel like a team to me that's going to have probably the same starting 5 all year if everything goes according to plan. I think Deeds will get some starts here and there, but I can't imagine that he's going to get more than 3 to 4 starts this year. You know, maybe he'll get a couple just I don't know, maybe matchups or give a guy a break or something. I don't really know. But I say, yes, he will get starts this year, but it will only happen if something has gone terribly wrong. Because Juan is that good, despite my public distaste for his previous actions. In terms of pure talent in 2K, he's probably the most talented power forward in this year's draft, just like he was last year. So, look, you know, from everything I'm hearing with that Heat team right now, chemistry-wise, it's locked in. They all know their roles. They all want to win. And personality-wise, you know, I think Sav can be a little bit funky here and there. I think Juan can also be a little bit funky here and there. I think Hotshot can too. Just you know, some people, you know, some personalities just don't always mix. But I think that they have the right combination of kind of weird guys that are weird together in similar ways that they're just going to work out. Like sometimes, look, we all know we're weird. And sometimes what it takes is just to find a group of people that is as similarly weird as you are, like I have. And I think that this team is going to be really fun, and I think that Deeds will only get starts if shit has hit the fan, basically.
And first off, I don't know if I should feel offended or complimented, but
complimented for sure.
You know, all right, cool, but you know, I admit it. Champ, your rebuttal.
I mean, we basically, again, you know, this is something that we agreed on, but I don't think there's a chance. I don't think Deeds ever touched the floor. I just don't think there's a chance. Even if they're bad, I think if anything, the situation is going to be, can Gunnar go to PG over Sav if they're being bad? If they're bad, you know what I mean? Like,
you can't say absolutely, Champ, that there's no way that Deeds gets any sort of playing time this year. He is a 3-year veteran in the league.
So why can't he play any other position? Deeds can play other positions.
Oh, you're saying he can play other positions? Yeah. Okay. I'm sorry. I thought I misheard what you said. I thought that you said that he's not going to get any starts at all.
But my thing is, like, to start over Juan, no. He can't get, like, maybe I misspoke on that, but...
Quick pause, chat. Hotshot is saying in the chat, weird the fuck question mark. Hotshot. One. All right. Look. Everybody in their own way is weird. Okay? We're all weirdos at the end of the day. Joe's weird. Champ's weird. I'm weird. You're weird. Famous is weird. There are going to be people that you meet in life that think you are weird and don't want to spend time with you. But then you're going to find people who are similarly weird as you are. And do you know what you end up calling those people? Friends.
Weirdos. Oh.
And weirdos. Yes. Because you are all weirdos together. That is how friendships work. Speak for Wes the same way. There are people out there who think you're weird that don't want to be your friend. But then there are people like me who thinks you're weird and wants to be your friend because of that.
Look, I'm just saying, regardless, Hot, you're always going to be weird to me unless you have the Henny bottle in hand, because we know what life is like. We know what it's about. So
in life, I know I'm weird. Exactly.
That's why Wes, you and I get along. We know for damn sure. Man, you got quirks. Everybody has quirks.
Everybody's weird, man. That's the great part about life.
It's called character. Weird. It's called being a character. Everybody has their own characteristics. So we're going into that. But look, to be quite honest, with this debate here, the only way that I see Deed starting over Juan at power forward is, God forbid, if something happens to him, knock on wood, hopefully nothing else happens, or that they're losing. And that, of course, Juan's not a person who likes to lose. Not one of those people. I understand he probably understands that it's his last shot. He's doing all this stuff. Famous is going to be there. But to be quite honest, I could see the only way that he's not starting is if he himself is the catalyst. If he is checking out. If he's being enhanced in that locker room. Where Famous, who's not going to take that shit, he's going to sit his ass down. He's going to have Deed start. And he's going to have he's going to have Juan sit over there and just realize, yo, this is your chance. This is your chance at your dreams. It's flying away. To be quite honest, if we're looking at the past, we're looking at this, yeah, he's playing with his friends. But has he played in a situation consistently where he's taken losses? He's taken a decent amount of losses. We're not just talking, regular season losses. We're talking multiple scrim losses. Because we've seen a lot of cracks and things happen to teams just by taking weeks of losses in scrims where the infighting and everything happens. So as long as, egos and everything don't come to fray, I think it'd be good. But again, I see Deeds potentially starting just to put him in his place so that Juan can check back in and lock the fuck in. So personally, I think Deeds might start for Juan, at least one game by the end of the season.
I'm down for it.
It's fair, but I think it's very low chance. I don't think it's going to happen.
See, there you go. See, Shifty gets it. It's okay. We can be weird together. That's my point. That's what friends are. It's just a bunch of people that you can all be weird with. That's what being friends is.
Did this turn into Mr. Rogers? What the fuck?
We can all be weird together.
Oh, I hate that. Please, somebody clip that.
God.
But all right, let's move on to the final segment. Champ's a weirdo too. He's definitely one of us. Champ, you look tired over there, bro. You good? You want to just call it?
I'm starving, but listen.
We can call it. How many start bench cuts do we have?
Listen. Right now the score is 4-1. I'm down. Listen, because it's 4-1 right now, and Harris is winning, and I'm about to go 0 for 3. 0 for 3 on my own show. Like
you were a mess from the beginning, man. High school debate team.
It just
man. But let's get into this last segment, okay? Let's get into it. This is the last segment. Let's do it. Can you hear it?
All right.
So basically, with this segment, it's bench, start, cut. Okay, I'll kind of take over on this one. So bench, start, cut. Basically, this is the rookie edition of bench, start, cut. There's not really any points to be awarded for this. It's kind of just Joe can kind of give his opinion on who he thinks has the better lineup. So the first 3 prospects we're gonna do is obviously the rookie PG prospects. We have obviously our guy 630. We have Walking Bucket, and we have Hoodie Dre. Okay, so obviously I'll let Harris take the first one. Harris, who are you benching? Who are you starting? And who are you cutting?
This is Dre, Seas, and who?
So this is
Dre,
6.
Seas, and Bucket.
No. This is 630.
Oh no, Dre 630.
Oh, that's 630. Oh, I thought that was.
Yeah.
No,
No blonde. Seas is blonde.
Yeah, I was gonna say I have to get an updated picture of him.
So 630, Dre, and Bucket. Okay, I'm gonna start 630. I'm gonna bench Dre, and I'm gonna cut Bucket.
Ooh, why would you cut Bucket?
Why wouldn't I?
Well, give me a reason why you would cut. Like, why would you?
Because he's the only guy on this list that who doesn't actually want to play point guard.
He doesn't want to play point guard?
I mean, he kept telling everybody pre-draft he didn't want to play point guard. I also think that his upside is limited based off of his. I just think that the other guys have more upside than him. I think 630 has as much upside as any guard drafted in the past 2 years, and that includes JVM. Like I think there's like a serious chance that 630 just walks into the league and is instantly a top 5 point guard. Like, wow, you do not find guys in. Do you know how rare it is to find a guy who can score like that? Like, look, it's so funny, because I keep talking about this with people about like, volume and efficiency and stuff like this. Like, at some point, volume and efficiency get pushed to the wayside when you're dropping 36 a game, right? Like, at some point, unless you're shooting like 20% from the floor, right? Like, obviously, standard deviation applying. If you can drop that level, if you could score to that level consistently in this league, you're one of the best players instantly. It doesn't matter. It literally nothing else matters. If you could score to that level and win games, you're one of the best guards in the league. And I think Dre and his upside, his upside is as high, I think, as anybody that isn't 630 in this entire class. I just think that Bucket's ceiling is a little bit capped. Right. 630, though, is going to win Rookie of the Year this year. And I find it funny. Like, I feel bad for the other offensive rookies in this year's class because I truly think they just don't have a chance because this dude is going to come in and drop 36 a game, and the Rookie of the Year race is going to be over by week 6. Like, it's just not fair. That's how much he's going to be able to score.
I have a question. So if I was to change and put season here, would you still cut him?
Yeah, I'd still put him in cut.
So basically, you're saying that 630s win Rookie of the Year. Dre, would you say Dre is right behind him in that race?
I think Dre and C's are really close, but I don't think anybody's close to 630 guard wise from this class. Mm-hmm. The fact that there was obviously this is pre-Ant or post-Ant. The fact that post-Ant anybody else was being talked about going number 2 overall other than 630 was foolish. Mm-hmm. He's that good.
Yeah. I mean, listen.
He's a franchise changer. The Pacers might be one of the best teams in the league simply because of how much he scores this year. He might score half their points every single game.
I mean, that's definitely what he wanted, though. He wanted to be on a team to where he owned the franchise, right? Like, he was basically the franchise player.
The Pacers were like, here, please take it. We need somebody to do it. Take it. Please, take it. Somebody, take it.
But I'm going to start Hoodie Dre. Okay? I think Dre is going to be right there with him. I really do. I really do.
If Dre's right there with him, then the Sixers are going to be one of the 4 to 5 best teams in the league.
Yeah, I do.
Because you put 630 on the Sixers. In my opinion, they're maybe the 2nd or 3rd best team in the East.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Like that 630 is going to be great. His numbers are going to be wild because I think that his numbers are going to be probably much higher. In a way, but at the same time, I think that Dre's going to win more, and he's going to have just as close to those numbers. And I think that Dre's going to have a more winning season compared to the Pacers, in my opinion. I think that the Sixers are going to be better than the Pacers, and Dre is just going to have just as good of a season, if not better, in my opinion. So I'm going to basically the only difference between ours is obviously you're starting 630, I'm starting Hoodie Dre, and I'm benching 630. I mean, I'm
just not sure what makes Dre at this moment in time better than 630.
I mean,
what in his skill set makes him better than 630?
I think they both have.
Mind you, that 630 scoring prowess is so much higher than Dre's. And I don't think that Dre has any skill set that's even close to the separation that they have.
So we talk about players that would be better on rosters. I agree, 630 would probably be better on the Sixers than Dre, but Dre's in a better situation. So I know that's a hard thing to kind of weigh on. Like, well, yeah, like 630 is probably the better player, but will 630 have the better season? Probably not. I think that he'll have I think he's going to have a Sav season. I think that he's going to have a season like Sav. Like, he's going to have really good numbers, just not the record to back it up. I think Dre's going to have the good numbers, but he's going to have a good record because he has a good team. I think Dre has a better team around him than 630. So I think that ultimately Dre is going to have all the needs that you need to win Rookie of the Year. Like, because you got to be, like, Rookie of the Year, you got to have a combination of both winning and numbers. Like, obviously, everyone goes back to the Reezy and BP situation, like, oh, BP made playoffs, I feel like that was just an anomaly. I think that was a one-time thing. I think going throughout now, like, you got to have a Reg-type season to really win Rookie of the Year. You got to make playoffs, and you got to have good numbers. Like, unless Dre has really bad numbers and doesn't, and doesn't make playoffs, then, yeah, it's different. But if Dre makes playoffs and he has, even if he has like lower numbers than 630, I think he still wins Rookie of the Year over him just because he made playoffs. So that's my look on it. I think I just think that Dre's gonna have a better overall season, not just numbers wise, but just an overall, like, when it comes to wins and losses, is my opinion. Can you guys hear me? Oh,
Yep.
Yeah.
I was
Right
sure.
on, Joe.
Taking a dramatic pause. I mean, because of course you can go different ways, but the question I want to ask you guys: why do you feel both of you have it? You're both cutting bucket / C's.
Yeah.
Why?
He doesn't have the same. So take about it for skill set wise, right? Like, let's just talk about pure individual skill sets, right? So bucket. Let's try to use numbers out of 3. Okay. I think let's talk scoring, playmaking, defense. Let's just use those 3. Scoring, playmaking, defense. Scoring, 630 is a 3. Absolutely. Playmaking, he's a 2. And defensively, he's probably a 2. Dre, to me, 2 scoring, 2 playmaking, 2 defense. Bucket is probably 2 scoring, 2 playmaking, 2 defense.
I think C's a better scorer than both of them.
Then 630?
Yes.
You're out your damn mind. Let's go. Stop it.
I think that's.
Stop.
I think that. I think if anything,
your butt's open. Stop talking.
No, I think if
Right.
I think if 630.
Get that shit out of here. There's absolutely nothing that we saw all off season that could ever back up C's being a better individual scorer than 630. Just stop it. If you want to say he's a better playmaker, I'll believe you. But there's nothing you can say that would actually convince me otherwise. That's a terrible That's a terrible take. Bad take.
I think you're
doing a start bench cut rookie edition.
You do realize that 630 might average like 15 points per game more than C's this year, right?
Yeah, because he's at shooting guard. That's the only thing.
Even if he was at point guard. I don't think you understand the level of scoring that 630 is going to put up this year.
This is where it gets kind of, because let's be honest, 630 is looked at as the best offensive prospect in this draft.
He is.
The man is going to score.
It's not even close.
Even on your favorite ghetto league build, the man's going to score.
We had one Zion tier prospect this year, and then we had one Ja Morant tier prospect this year, and both of them went 1 and 2. Dre can be RJ Barrett.
No,
and you know what? Just as a Knicks fan, I hope he does great.
Yeah,
I don't even care.
RJ Barrett's a good player. That's not a dig. RJ Barrett's a fine player. Really good second-year player. Second best player on a playoff team right now. That's not a bad thing. That's what Dre will probably be. He'll be the second best player on a playoff team. 630 will be the best player on his team and the best rookie in the league. That's the difference.
I mean, listen, I think Dre's gonna have the better year. It's all that matters to me. I think that 630. It's easy to say, but 630.
Exactly about his season.
I think in the pick and roll.
We can argue this until Twitch is sending us checks, because they're probably not tonight. It would be a long ass stream. Let's move on to the next one. Start bench cut. Chat, please let us know your thoughts on this one. if you feel something's different, you feel something better, let us know in the chat. But we're going to move on. I believe start bench cut for the next one. Champ, you want to load it up for us? So it looks like to me,
it's going to be. Yep.
Rigby and Cali?
Yep.
All right. So start bench cut. Greenlight, Cali, and Rigby.
I am going to start Rigby. I think that's the easy choice to start Rigby.
Who are these guys?
Man, you haven't learned the faces of these guys yet?
I can't tell you who either of those guys. I know that's Rigby.
No, so Rigby's in the middle, Calyrack's on the left, and then Greenlight's on the right. So Greenlight is all the way on the right where I have cut. I'm benching Calyrack and I'm starting Rigby.
Funny because Dylan looks like a Dylan.
He reminds me of my brother. He looks just like my brother. It's crazy.
Found it. So Dylan, Greenlight, and Champ are related. That's the big breaking news for the night. We just found that out. But no, moving on. Go ahead.
I am going
to let him go first. Did he go? Did you start bench?
Yeah, that's my lineup. I'll explain my lineup after he. Do you want me to explain it now, or do you want me to?
No. Go ahead, Harris. You do it first.
I'm gonna start Rigby because he was probably the second or third best guard in the class. I'm going to. God, Calyrack and Greenlight are really similar players. This is kind of difficult. Man, I haven't really seen I watched the Pistons play a little bit in scrims. I thought that Greenlight and Calyrack in terms of players were really, really similar. I'm gonna keep it the same thing that Champ did and just go. I mean, you could. I don't really like saying bench and cut between Calyrack and Greenlight because I think that they're both very, very similar players and will have very, very similar seasons. But if I'm trying to compare the two minutely, I guess I'll slightly put Calyrack higher just because Sharp is the position that he plays all the time, and Sharp, while it isn't a new position for Greenlight, if you're just talking about hours of mastery, technically Calyrack plays more Sharp than Greenlight does, so I suppose that makes him a little bit better. But I think we're gonna look towards the end of the season and we're going to look back and be like, holy shit, they literally had the exact same season. They could totally both end the season with 12.5 points per game, shooting 50% from the floor. And I don't think anybody would be surprised on either team.
And
I mean, I think the difference between Calyrack and Greenlight is I think Greenlight's a little better at putting the ball on the floor compared to Calyrack. I think that he's better at creating his own shot. Cali can create his own shot, but not as well as Greenlight. I think Cali, again, he's like Klay Thompson. This guy, catches the ball off the screen and he is a bucket. You know what I mean? He can kind of jig off ball in a way and get open. But Greenlight, he can put the ball on the floor. I think that he's able to kind of not be he's basically a point guard / shooting guard. He's in a weird category, but he is a little different than Calyrack in my opinion when it comes to his game. Rigby, obviously, Rigby, I think everyone thinks is, obviously he's one of the best shooting guards in this class. Rigby's ability to just, his overall game, this is one of the most talented players in the pool. Honestly, I think that the fact that he got all the way to the Hornets at 8 or whatever, that's a huge deal for them in my opinion. So, but I mean, yeah, between Greenlight and Cali, yeah, it is definitely tough between those two. But I definitely think that Calyrack is gonna be a little better. I think that Greenlight's gonna. I think it's all about their roles on their rosters, right, on their teams. I think that Greenlight has a smaller role compared to Cali. I think we talk about this idea okay, if Dre probably has a more likely chance of struggling compared to Radiant, right? So Dre, because what I'm saying, Harris, is that Dre, is going to might need more help compared to a Radiant who can go out there and get his.
Radiant uses his sharps a ton, and the more effective they are, the more he uses them. I don't know. I think it's too early to say that.
Yeah, and I also believe that because Greenlight has the ability to be a secondary ball handler, I feel that wouldn't you think that his role would be a little bit bigger because he can run it's kind of you have that secondary option who can run the run the offense.
It's difficult, Joe, because this is kind of where a segment like this is tough, because when it comes to Calyrex versus Greenlight, like both of them are gonna like I said, like they could end up having the exact same stat lines at the end of the season. So it's kind of hard to know which one is going to be better until we actually have the film on them to know which one is better. Like, yeah, I agree with you, Champ, that like Calyrex could be more important to Dre than Greenlight is to Radiant. But at the same time, on film, if Greenlight is causing more gravity and pulling doubles off of Radiant, but Calyrex isn't doing the same thing to Dre, who's the better player? Like, it's subjective based off of how both of them are used. I agree that Greenlight can be used as a secondary ball handler, but I'd be stunned if they didn't use him as just a pure sharp, just because you have Radiant and you want him with the ball as much as possible.
Okay, so here's my other piece to this. Do you feel that, let's throw Antoine into this mix, right?
Yep.
Because he was the next 2-guard that was drafted here. Throwing Antoine into this mix, do your start bench cut change at all?
Yeah, I'm benching, or I'm putting him over Greenlight and Cali. I think his role this year is going to be obscene. How do I put this? In order for them to be good, he's going to have to be one of the most important players in the entire league. If this Warriors team wants to be at all good, he has to be like that. Like, he can't be somebody like a Greenlight who can take some games off and just sit next to Radiant and Ramo win them games. They don't have that second guy on offense. They don't have it. So Antoine is going to have to be that guy. And I know you might think like, oh, what about Guns? I don't trust him at center. I don't until I see it. I don't. So Antoine is going to have to be the second best offensive player on that team. And that's a hard task, man. That's really, really hard, especially in a Western Conference that has a lot of really good off-ball defenders. So he has a huge responsibility this year, but I think he can live up to it.
All right, and Champ?
Huge responsibility.
Champ?
Oh, sorry, my mic was muted. My bad. Hang on, let me get back to it. My thing about it with Antoine, he's a talented player. I think I definitely would put him over. I'd probably put him at my bench. I wouldn't start him over Rigby. But I think that he is really important. I mean, we've seen shooting guards in the Warriors. You know, saw what Beast Move did. So it's going to be the same thing with Antoine. I'm a little worried. I'm so concerned about his game. Obviously it's only scrims, but I've been watching them in scrims, and I don't know. He's got to get a shot. I mean, I got to see it on league build. I really do. I got to see it on the actual league build. But when I was watching him in scrims, I did have a little concern. He's just not hitting shots. I mean, that's simple as that. Like when I watched him, I mean, in retail, he was good. He was playing well. But again, once you get with this, once you get with that lineup, that's what matters. How good do you play with these players? And I mean, from what I've been seeing in scrims, he hasn't looked good, like, in my opinion. But definitely, I think that even Keena's struggled this off season, in my opinion. I don't know. I'm really worried about the Warriors. So I honestly might. I don't want to say I want to cut Antoine, because he could, they could go and scrim, and play on the real league build and be really good and completely prove me wrong. But based off of what I've seen, I don't like Antoine. I don't think he's going to be good, personally. I think that a lot of people are really high on him, which is fine. But I think the Warriors are going to really struggle, and I think that he's going to be a part of that struggle. So I would cut Antoine personally.
But all right, cool. And I guess we'll do.
We'll do one more and we'll call it a wrap. I was gonna do power forward. I was gonna do three. I was gonna do
Fakey, Crown, and D-Law.
Yeah, let's do that. That's the one. That's a good one.
Which ones is it?
It's gonna
power forward, Fakey, Crown, D-Law.
That's tough. Okay.
You mean Oreo?
Oreo no more.
In the league, he's the law, bro. The law.
D-Law. All right. So, what was the last one you said? Fakey, D-Law, and who else was the last one?
Yeah, Fakey, D-Law, and Crown.
Oh, Crown. Okay. Let me find Crown's picture. I have a terrible picture of Crown. Crown, by the way, for all prospects, please do me a favor. If you guys want a better picture, this one's really bad of Crown. Oh God, I have a really bad picture of Crown.
You better play nice and see some of these teams send you media day photos.
I asked for some teams are really picky about giving that stuff away, so I have to take it from the website.
I wonder why.
Wonder why? Well, there's a lot of reasons.
Oh yeah, that's a bad dang Crown out here looking transparent.
You see this? He's outside. It's dark
He's
outside.
like Patrick Swayze and Ghost. It's bad right now.
But I'll start this one off. I mean, unless Harris wants to start it, I can start it off. But
you good.
I'm starting Oreo. Whereas, I mean, honestly think he's going to be center. I really do. I really think he's going to end up going to center. But power forward, I think it's a good possibility. Fakey is one of the better defensive power forwards, in my opinion, this offseason. I mean, I remember sitting here. I was sitting in a Discord one time with a bunch of guys. We were watching games, and we were watching Fakey play. And I remember, I was talking to Dave Fry, and even Dave Fry was saying, this guy, overall, Fakey's a dog, man. Fakey's really good. I think defensively, he's going to be one of the better defensive power forwards. Oreo, I think, is going to be more well-rounded. I think that he's going to be good on both sides. I mean, I feel like power forward-wise on offense, just knock down shots, you know what I mean? Just shoot the ball, you know what I mean? So it's kind of hard to differentiate a lot of these power forwards. It really comes down to how good their defense is. I think Fakey's going to be the better defensive power forward, but offensively, I mean, it's tough because if you're just sitting there spotting up shots, it's different. But if Oreo is getting to do more than just be a spot up shooter for them, then yeah, he could be great offensively. And Crown, I mean, Crown was a center, and he also plays power forward. So it's kind of okay, he's moving the power. I mean, he was good, defensively as a center. I'm sure he'll have the same thing as a power forward. But out of all of them, I just oh man, it's tough. That's actually tough. I actually don't know if I would start. I might move Crown. It feels weird cutting Crown. Crown's not bad. I don't want to cut Crown, even though his pitcher's terrible right now. But I don't know. I mean, for now, I'm going to stick with this. I'm interested to see what Harris, what your lineup is.
Sorry, I was responding to my fiance. Okay.
Happy wife.
For me, I'm gonna go Fakey start, D-Law bench, and cut Crown.
All right.
Mostly because I think what's annoying. I think the most part and why I kind of feel bad for Crown is I know he can play power forward, and I know that he's gonna see something like this and be like, "Oh my God, everybody's just hating on me. What the hell?" I think it is a shame that we're going into this season and Crown doesn't have one of the starting center spots. I think he's going to do the most of his opportunity at the 4, but I just think that we're going to get to the middle of the year and we're going to see that there really are a lot of bad centers in this league, and we're going to be kind of asking ourselves as GMs, as analysts, how the hell did Crown not want to not get one of these starting jobs? And I actually would not be surprised if he gets traded mid-season to go start at center for another team, because it's kind of a crime that he's being slotted at the 4 to play corner for Pete balling. Not that Pete's bad, it's just it's just weird. To me, it's a very weird fit. And, India tried to explain the pick to me after it happened. I still don't understand the pick to this day. There were other power forwards on the board, actual power forwards that were better, and they took Crown, and I still don't get the pick, even though I like Crown as a player, and he knows that. In terms of Fakey versus D-Law, I think the thing I like the most about Fakey is that he's a guy who's going to come in and just instantly know what his role is, right? He's going to come in, his job is to get rebounds, shoot out of the corner, and play back into pick and roll defense. And I'm not saying that D-Law doesn't. I think it's that the fact that D-Law can do so many different things, I think at the power forward position might hurt him. Because in this league, at power forward, unless you are a special talent at doing something specific, like Zay is at scoring, or Ramo was as a post scorer, or Yusuf was as defending the pick and roll, it is very difficult for you to be a power forward in this league and play outside of the typical power forward role and succeed. I think D-Law can do that. I just think that Fakey fits more with what the stereotypical power forward is in this league, and that is why Fakey is going to end up being the better player in this league. I think D-Law is going to be a good power forward, but I just think that the skill sets that he showed in Pro-Am, which is the ability to put the ball on the floor, the ability to defend multiple positions, the ability to, run the break, like those just aren't things that he's going to be given the opportunity to do in the league. And I think when you start to really tear down their skill sets and you look at, okay, who is the better core power forward for what is going to be asked of them in the league, I think Fakey is just simply better for those fundamental skills. D-Law might be the better overall player because he can play center, he can play multiple other positions and play all those positions at a high level. But in terms of the actual power forward for position, I think Fakey is better than both of those guys.
All right, so of course I was kind of holding off on this one, but I might as well just say it. So we talked about, and this is my personal thing, and it's very difficult. You're all correct on that. I think it's start D-Law, bench Crown, cut Fakey. And the reason why I say this is because, yeah, exactly. You're looking at me like this. Have we seen Fakey play the pick and roll outside of the triangle consistently?
Why wouldn't they just play the triangle?
Are the league builds going to really be able to work the triangle and work it like that?
Why wouldn't they?
To be quite honest, I see a lot of teams, and I think that the power forwards that are going to be playing the pick and roll, who have that ability, they're going to be great. I think that's really where you're going to see your D-Laws, your Crowns really excel. I think your Fakies, they're not going to be as useful per se. And some of the ones that play better to Fakey's skill set, Lee's going to be there. So
I feel like it's the opposite though. Why would this league build feed more into Crown and D-Law? Crown barely even plays power forward, so we don't even know what his skill set is going to be at that position. And with D-Law, he played such a unique brand of power forward that we have no idea if it's even going to translate into the league. Fake is the only one that actually played like a stereotypical power forward role on a team. D-Law was basically strong safety. I mean, Jesus Christ, that dude played honestly, it's funny because his comp in the league should really be somebody like Type, but at power forward. It's weird. I don't know. I'm worried about putting Crown and D-Law in positions that they have to play a stereotypical role.
See, and this is where I think that their roles on their respective teams, where D-Law, you have Mario there. Mario is going to be able to shoot. He's going to be able to play more of the offensive start. D-Law is like you said, the strong safety, the defensive stalwart. He's going to be there, the vocal leader, helping whatever, hit his shots from the corner, still be able to make plays here and there. But his main job is to defend the paint, defend the basket, do all that stuff, help bolster the defense. Crown, he's going to be, his is a little bit different where, he's probably going to help Pete out in the pick and roll. He might be there, taking the pick and roll because I think he might be a better pick and roll defender than Pete. They're both great lane lurkers, so it just allows a little bit less on. I could be there with you. Able to do that. Yeah. Also, we forget that Crown has one thing that the two of these players really don't have is that passing ability, that playmaking ability. So now they're able to run multiple sets. They're able to play out the corner. They're able to run horns, do different type of schemes and matchups because now you have somebody who has the ability to be able to pass.
But who's running their playmaking out of their 4 spot?
I'm sorry, did the Hornets not run a lot of their
You mean the transcendent offensive talent at the 4 that was Zay? Like, that's a ridiculous comparison to make.
But I'm just saying, they did.
They gave him the ball in their hand because they didn't have an actual point guard on the team last year. And also, their center was their point guard. I mean, Type had more assists than anybody on that team. I like my whole point with this is that I feel bad for Crown. I'm with you, Joe. Crown should be a starting center and should be basically playing point guard as a center for a team. And it's a damn shame that he's not going to get that chance this year. Damn shame.
Like you said, though, Harris, there's a lot of centers that are bad in this league, and they're going to it's going to show this year. You know what I mean? It's going to show, and it's I think we're going to see a lot of exits at the center position, and Crown should be starting center somewhere, in my opinion. I do agree with you on that. I definitely when you brought up that point about the amount of centers that kind of get covered up in this league that aren't that good. And the fact that Crown isn't one of those starting centers in the league right now is a shame. So
like with how well he played, like Joe, I agree with every point that you made about Crown, because like goddamn did he play super well during the offseason. And like now he's gonna be like shoved into this weird power forward role next to Pete, who he might already be better than at the position that Pete is playing. But he's not going to be able to use his passing because Sherm and Rigby are going to have the ball so damn often. Like, I still to this day, that's like one of like the many first round picks that like I just don't get. I did not understand it when it happened. I still don't understand it now. They could have drafted anybody at the 4 that would have fit better for them. The only reason they took him is that they must just think that like if Pete just sucks, they have somebody to put at center. But like. It was a weird pick when it happened, and it's still weird to this day. That's why I'm cutting him, so he can go to a different team and be better. Send him to a different team.
But all right, I mean, we've been at this. It's almost 11 o'clock.
Almost 4 hours. It's almost 4 hours. So we are almost eclipsing that amount of time. So I do listen. I'll wrap it. I'll kind of give the final things. Listen. I appreciate Harris being on here, of course, as he's eating. You know, I'm sure he's starving. I don't know what he's eating, but
I'm just chewing on a thing on my head.
Yeah, well, that's a good sign that Harris is starving. We need to feed him. Harris obviously kicked my ass in today's show. Obviously, I am 0-3, guys. I do not know. I'm gonna have to like bring some random person that's never watched a 2K League and just go against them to get a win, because it's getting pretty bad at this point, guys. Obviously, Joe, typical great host, great personality. Oh, yeah. Shout out to Grizz Gaming. He's gonna be doing a lot of great content for them. Actually, Joe, when are you guys starting that?
What do you mean? We've already kicked it off.
But
started. I'm not saying anything because, of course, my lips are sealed. You won't get
man.
But just so you know, to quote my guy, Bear the Beast, you shouldn't have let me in. That's it.
But anyway, guys, the season starts May 19th. A lot of great things coming up. Appreciate, obviously, Joe and Harris being on here with me. Obviously, it's my show, but I just get my ass kicked every time on here. But don't forget, guys, every Monday, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, we do this show. Next week, we will be having another show. We have another special guest that I'll be debating with. Hopefully, I take the W next time. But for now, I'm 0-3. Again, one last time, thank you, Harris. Thank you, Joe. And we will be signing off. Appreciate you guys.
They try to tell me what I can, what I can't do. Looking at them like I don't understand you. You never really know what life's gonna hand you. So I'ma do anything that I get the chance to. I keep it cooking like the pots and the pans do. Trying to make a few bops you can dance to. I be tight up on that ass like a pants do. I just wanna go this hot and cute. Mic check like 1 and 2. My checks like whoa, damn dude. My skill just grows, bamboo. You thought I drove, man flew. That I got weed, that's a gram too. You know I brought the team and the fan too. Pull up on the scene, it's a dance zoo. I put a beat on and jam like I can't shoot. Can do anything you want.